Chapter 81, Solving the Beginner Problem 3 days later. The research room was once again filled with reports. Unlike before, the 5 no longer processed paperwork. Instead, they studied it, every complaint, every bug, every repeated request. To them, each one represented a flaw in the system. And every flaw was an opportunity to improve it. Kyan projected a chart onto the wall. The majority of our paperwork comes from only a few problems. He pointed to the first category. Reward distribution, 38%. Another category appeared. Experience sharing, 29%. Another. Monster partnership requests, 12%. Then several smaller categories. Loot ownership disputes, kill stealing complaints, party invitations, disconnected players, dungeon abandonment, spawn camping, false reports, tutorial questions. Daichi looked at the endless list. Quote. Beginners really are troublesome. The husky nodded proudly. I've been saying that for years. Kyan looked toward everyone. We solve them one at a time. Akira nodded. The easier the rules, the less management we need. The first topic. Experience sharing. Ren spoke first. Normally, the party experience sharing function unlocks only after users have a permanent team. Level 10. And 100% synchronization. The husky nodded. Correct. That's how I've always done it. Shun shook his head. Too late. The others looked at him. He stood and walked to the blackboard. If beginners fight together, they immediately argue. I dealt more damage. He stole my kill. She got all the experience. He wrote one sentence. Contribution, not last hit. Silence filled the room. Shun continued. If a monster dies, the experience and rewards won't go to whoever lands the final blow. They'll be distributed according to each player's total contribution. Damage, support, healing, tank performance, everything counts. Ren smiled. So, kill stealing disappears. Akira nodded. And teamwork becomes profitable. The husky blinked. Quote. I've never thought about that. Kyan frowned slightly. But, who calculates every attack? If millions of players are fighting, our system can't analyze every single hit. The room became quiet. Then, Shun smiled. I already have an answer. Everyone looked toward him. He wrote another word. Blockchain. The others looked confused. The husky tilted his head. What's that? Shun smiled. It was a theory from my previous life. He drew a network of connected dots. Instead of one authority verifying every transaction, everyone verifies together. He continued. Our users already witness every battle, every attack, every spell, every heal. So, they become the verification network. The players themselves record and verify the battle data. Our system only reads the final verified result. It doesn't calculate every attack. It only distributes the rewards. Silence. Akira slowly adjusted his glasses. Quote. Brilliant. Kyan immediately understood. So our workload doesn't increase, even if player numbers multiply. Shun nodded. Exactly. The husky stared blankly at the diagram. Quote. You people, keep stealing ideas from another universe. The next problem appeared. Monster partnership requests. Ren sighed. Thousands of players keep asking. Can I tame this wolf? Can I make the goblin my pet? The slime is cute. Daichi laughed. I can't believe someone wanted to adopt a troll. The husky rubbed his forehead. I receive those requests every minute. Kyan looked toward him. Can you negotiate with the world's will? The husky blinked. For what? We want every monster to instinctively recognize users as invaders. Regardless of personality, even peaceful monsters should attack players on sight. That way, they won't remain beside users long enough to form partnerships. The husky thought for a moment. Quote. That's actually possible. I'll need permission from the world's will. But I think it'll agree. Shun nodded. Good. That removes another category of paperwork. Akira opened another report. Players are arguing over dropped loot. Shun immediately answered. Personal loot. The system generates separate rewards for each contributor. No one can steal another person's rewards. Daichi grinned. Problem solved. Ren opened another report. High-level players are entering beginner dungeons and killing every monster before newcomers can fight. Kyan answered calmly. Level scaling. If you're too strong, you receive no rewards from beginner dungeons. And beginners receive priority. The husky immediately wrote it down. Quote. Excellent. Akira continued. Some players intentionally block dungeon entrances. Shun smiled. Safe zone teleportation. Anyone standing idle near an entrance for too long gets teleported outside. Daichi looked at another report. Players are pretending to be experts. They give terrible advice. Ren laughed. I've seen that. Kyan nodded. Verified guides. Only strategies confirmed by repeated dungeon clears receive official verification. The rest are marked as community opinions. Hours passed. One problem after another disappeared from the board. Each solution was simple, logical, easy to automate. Finally, the blackboard was almost empty. The husky looked at the remaining reports. Quote, 70%. He looked at the 5. You've eliminated 70% of tomorrow's paperwork. Before it even exists. Shun smiled faintly. That's the purpose of research. Don't solve today's problem. Prevent tomorrow's. The husky slowly leaned back. For thousands of years, he had managed dungeons. These 5 were redesigning the entire profession. And somehow, every new idea made perfect sense. Chapter 82, Teaching Teamwork. Another day, another meeting, another pile of reports. Kyan projected a new graph onto the wall. This one isn't about rewards. It concerns dungeon completion. A chart appeared. Solo beginner failure rate, 60%. Daichi frowned. That's high. The husky sighed. It creates another headache. Everyone looked toward him. When beginners enter a dungeon alone and fail, the monsters they defeat stay dead. The dungeon remains half cleared. The next team enters expecting a full dungeon, but finds fewer monsters. They earn less experience. They receive fewer rewards. So I have to move monsters from neighboring dungeons to refill the missing population. He rubbed his temples. That creates even more paperwork. Akira nodded. So one arrogant beginner creates work for everyone. The husky pointed at Daichi. Exactly. Daichi folded his arms. They're blinded by pride. They think, I'm the main character. I don't need teammates. Ren laughed. It's not just beginners. I've seen high-level players act exactly the same way. Kyan nodded. Arrogance doesn't disappear. It simply becomes stronger. The room fell silent. Finally, Kyan spoke. We don't punish them. We educate them. Shun looked toward him. How? Kyan turned toward the husky. I have a question. Can a dungeon be cleared by multiple independent teams? The husky smiled. Of course. Above level 100, there are special dungeons designed for hundreds of users. Some require multiple fixed teams. Others require completely unrelated teams to cooperate. One team can't clear them alone. Kyan's eyes lit up. Perfect. The others immediately understood he had an idea. We'll introduce that concept much earlier. Ren leaned forward. On a smaller scale. Exactly. Kyan walked to the board. We already have the Monster Horde dungeon. It opens at level 20. It currently only accepts fixed teams. He drew several circles around one giant monster. We'll redesign it. Instead of one team, it will allow multiple independent teams to enter simultaneously. Akira immediately understood. So beginners will witness real coordination. They'll see experienced teams protecting each other, sharing responsibilities, saving teammates, combining strategies. Daichi grinned. They'll finally understand why teamwork is stronger than pride. The husky slowly nodded. Quote, I like this. Shun added another idea. We don't stop there. Everyone looked at him. The internet, the phones, the network. We're already collecting battle data. He smiled. We can turn the greatest battles into teaching material. Ren's eyes widened. Battle recordings. Akira nodded. Players can watch experienced teams. They'll learn positioning, timing, communication, formation changes. Kyan smiled. Instead of reading guides, they'll watch masters. Daichi laughed. We'll even have a section called How Not to Die in 5 Minutes. Everyone burst into laughter. Even the husky couldn't help smiling. Akira opened another report. We should also reward teamwork. Kyan nodded. Agreed. He wrote another feature on the board. Team bonus. If players clear a dungeon together, they receive additional experience, additional gold, and bonus contribution points. Ren added. The better the coordination, the larger the bonus. Daichi pointed at another report. What about players who abandon their teammates halfway through? Shun answered immediately. Temporary reputation loss. Future teammates can see that history. If someone repeatedly abandons allies, fewer people will invite them. The husky smiled broadly. So, instead of punishing bad behavior directly, you let society handle it. Kyan nodded. Exactly. Good teammates become valuable. Bad teammates become unpopular. The players will correct each other. Hours later, the meeting ended. The whiteboard was filled with new features. The husky looked at every proposal, then quietly closed his notebook. I finally understand. The 5 looked at him. You aren't trying to create stronger users. He paused. You're trying to create better adventurers. Shun smiled faintly. No, we're trying to build a community. Strength comes naturally after that. For the first time, the husky realized something. The 5 never viewed the dungeon system as a collection of dungeons. They viewed it as a civilization. And every update was another step toward building that civilization. Chapter 83, A Lesson in Scale. The meeting had finally ended. The whiteboard was filled with new features. Contribution-based rewards, multi-team dungeons, battle recordings, team bonuses, reputation systems. The husky looked at every proposal with sparkling eyes. His tail wagged excitedly. This is incredible. He immediately opened his management panel. I'll deploy all of these features to every one of my users. Just as his paw was about to press the confirmation button. Stop. Kyan's calm voice echoed through the room. The husky looked up in confusion. Why? These features will reduce my paperwork. They'll make my business much more efficient. Kyan slowly shook his head. No, not yet. The room fell silent. The husky frowned. I don't understand. Kyan walked to the blackboard. He wrote 2 numbers. Ninja World users. Millions. Then below it, your users. Countless worlds. He turned toward the husky. The difference isn't a few times. It's several orders of magnitude. You aren't managing millions of users. You're managing users spread across countless worlds. Akira continued the explanation. The functions we've designed are extremely complex. Even supporting only a few million users required careful planning. Every new rule interacts with dozens of other systems. Rewards, experience, parties, matchmaking, dungeons, economy, reputation. Every change affects something else. Ren nodded. We're modifying the foundation of the system itself. If even one interaction contains a bug, the consequences won't remain isolated. Daichi folded his arms. A tiny bug on our side is annoying. A tiny bug on your side becomes a catastrophe. The husky slowly lowered his paw. Kyan looked directly at him. If you deploy these functions immediately across your entire business, the damage from one hidden bug could be 1,000 times worse than your current system. You could accidentally corrupt reward distribution, duplicate experience, lose player data, break dungeon synchronization, or create an exploit that spreads through every world. He paused. In the worst case, it could destroy the reputation of your entire business. Silence filled the room. The husky looked at the deployment button again. His excitement slowly disappeared. Shun smiled faintly. Our ninja world is different. Our users are manageable. If something goes wrong, we investigate, we repair it, we compensate the affected players, we collect data, and we improve the design. Akira nodded. Our failures are affordable. Yours aren't. Ren added. That's why we insisted on using only one world. This isn't just a game. It's a long-term experiment. We're testing every feature, every rule, every interaction. Daichi laughed. If something explodes, we'd rather it explode here, not across 1,000 worlds. Even the husky laughed at that. Quote. Fair point. Kyan picked up a marker and wrote one final sentence across the board. Small scale first, large scale later. He turned toward the husky. When our system survives millions of users for several years without major problems, then you can gradually introduce these functions to one of your other worlds. Observe, collect data, fix new bugs, and only after that, expand further. The husky remained silent for a long time. Then, he slowly closed the global deployment window. I've managed dungeons for thousands of years, but I always thought, if an idea was good, I should immediately give it to everyone. Shun shook his head. A good idea isn't enough. It also has to survive reality. The husky smiled bitterly. So, my biggest mistake was treating every world as if it were the same size. Kyan nodded. Exactly. The bigger the system, the more valuable a controlled testing environment becomes. The husky looked around the room. For the first time, he realized why the 5 had insisted on limiting themselves to a single world. They weren't being cautious because they lacked confidence. They were protecting the future of an interdimensional business. He quietly extended his paw toward Kyan. Thank you. Kyan shook it. You're our partner. If your business collapses, our experiment ends too. The husky laughed. Quote. You researchers really do think differently. Shun smiled. We don't build for today. We build for the next 1,000 years. Chapter 84, a research department. The next morning, the 5 gathered once again in their research room. The previous day's discussion had given them a new perspective. The ninja world wasn't just their experiment. It had become their research and development department. Kyan looked around the table. I've been thinking. The others looked up. Our job has changed. Ren smiled. We're researchers. We've always been researchers. Kyan shook his head. Not exactly. He walked to the blackboard and wrote 3 words. Research, testing, deployment. This is our real job now. Akira immediately understood. So the ninja world performs the testing. Kyan nodded. We design, we test, we improve. Only after years of observation do we allow the husky to deploy the feature elsewhere. The husky quickly took notes. Quote. I'm writing that down. Shun stood up and added another section. Experimental features. Stable features. No feature should jump directly from an idea to becoming part of the main system. Ren nodded. It first enters the experimental branch. If it survives, it becomes stable. If not, we remove it. Daichi grinned. So, we're officially creating versions now. Kyan smiled. Exactly. He wrote another rule. Nothing reaches production without surviving long-term testing. Akira added. And long-term means years, not weeks, not months. If a feature survives millions of users for years, then we know it's reliable. The husky slowly nodded. I've always upgraded my system. Without thinking like this, Ren suddenly raised another question. What about old features? The room became quiet. Shun answered immediately. Every old feature should be questioned. Just because something has existed for thousands of years doesn't mean it's optimal. The husky froze. You're planning to redesign my old systems too? Daichi laughed. If they're inefficient. Of course. The husky sighed. I suddenly understand why researchers scare people. Akira opened another document. We should also separate responsibilities. He wrote 5 titles. Research, testing, data analysis, deployment approval, maintenance. Kyan nodded. Each stage should be independent. The people creating a feature shouldn't be the same people approving it. Ren smiled. So we review each other's work. No blind spots. Shun nodded. The more important the system, the more important peer review becomes. The husky blinked. Peer review. Shun smiled. If Akira creates a feature, I review it. If I create one, Kyan reviews it. No one approves their own work. Silence filled the room. The husky quietly looked at his own management panel. For thousands of years, every update, every decision, every approval, had been made by him alone. He suddenly realized how dangerous that actually was. Kyan looked at him. You've been working alone for too long. One person, no matter how capable, will eventually overlook something. The husky slowly nodded. You're right. He closed his notebook, then smiled. I came here hoping to reduce my paperwork. He looked around the room. Instead, you've completely changed how I think about managing a system. Daichi laughed. And we're just getting started. Ren grinned. We haven't even reached version 3 yet. The husky immediately covered his ears. No, please. One version at a time. The room burst into laughter. Outside, millions of players continued enjoying Dungeon Online, completely unaware that the 5 creators were no longer focused on making a better game. They were designing an entirely new philosophy for managing civilizations across countless worlds. And the husky, the ancient dungeon system himself, had unknowingly become their first student. Chapter 85, The Truth Comes Out. 2 days remained before the launch of the new multi-team Monster Horde dungeon. The 5 had already finished every adjustment. Multiple teams, contribution-based rewards, team bonuses, battle recordings. Everything was ready. Now, they were simply waiting for the scheduled release. None of them expected that the biggest news would arrive before then. Inside Konoha, an academy student was practicing shuriken throwing after school. His father watched from the side. Something felt wrong. The boy's speed was much faster than before. His reactions were sharper. His stamina seemed endless. The father frowned. When did you become this strong? The boy scratched his head. I don't know. I've just been playing Dungeon Online every day. The father froze. That wasn't an isolated case. Across the ninja world, the same scene repeated itself. A blacksmith noticed he could lift heavier materials. A farmer worked longer without becoming tired. Children ran faster than ever before. Retired shinobi found that their aging bodies felt younger. Medical examinations confirmed the impossible. These changes were real. The first people to understand were the shinobi. A chunin from Konoha compared his old training records. His physical strength had increased by nearly 10%. Yet, he hadn't trained any harder than usual. There was only one difference. Dungeon Online. Within hours, rumors spread through every village. It's not just a game. The strength is real. My chakra control improved. My body became stronger. I recovered faster after training. At first, many dismissed the rumors. Then, the evidence became overwhelming. Every dojo, every training ground, every hidden village, reached the same conclusion. The game wasn't simply realistic. It was changing reality itself. The entire ninja world erupted. Inside Konoha, the Hokage's office was flooded with reports. Anbu appeared one after another. Lord Hokage, the rumors are true. Our tests confirmed it. Physical abilities increase after clearing dungeons. Hiruzen slowly put down his pipe. So, the creators never lied. They simply never told us everything. In Kumogakure, the third Raikage burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, I knew something this incredible couldn't be ordinary. He immediately shouted, every shinobi, mandatory dungeon training begins tomorrow. His advisors exchanged helpless looks. They had expected that order. In Iwagakure, Onoki stared at the latest report. Impossible. A researcher shook his head. We repeated the experiment 23 times. The results are identical. Onoki slowly smiled. So, the age of ordinary training has ended. Kurigakure, Sunagakure, every hidden village reacted the same way. Emergency meetings were held. Training schedules were rewritten. Budgets were reassigned. Entire departments were established to study dungeon online. Meanwhile, the civilian world exploded with excitement. Merchants closed their shops early. Families entered dungeons together. Parents encouraged their children to play. People who had ignored the game suddenly rushed to buy phones. The merchant association was overwhelmed. Long lines stretched outside every store. Phones sold out within hours. Deep within the hidden mountain, the five quietly watched the reports. Ren smiled. It happened sooner than expected. Akira nodded. We estimated another month. Kaien wasn't surprised. Too many people were improving. It couldn't remain hidden forever. Daichi laughed. So, tomorrow the whole world starts grinding seriously. Shun calmly drank his tea. No, they'll start chasing strength. They're two different things. The others nodded. They understood the difference. Grinding was systematic. Chasing strength often led to recklessness. At that moment, the husky walked in. He looked at the reports. Then at the five. Your player count just doubled. Ren blinked. In one day. The husky nodded. Everyone wants to become stronger. He paused. And, your multi-team monster horde dungeon opens in 2 days. Kaien smiled. Perfect timing. The whole ninja world has just realized the value of strength. Shun finished his tea and stood. Then, it's time to teach them something even more important. The others looked at him. He smiled faintly. Strength alone is never enough. Outside, the entire ninja world was consumed by one question. How strong could they become? They didn't yet realize that the next dungeon wasn't designed to test their strength. It was designed to teach them that no one conquered a battlefield alone. Chapter 86, the system's official explanation. The next morning, every phone in the ninja world vibrated simultaneously. People immediately stopped what they were doing. A new system announcement had appeared. Unlike previous updates, this one answered the questions that everyone had been asking. Dungeon system announcement. Many users have recently asked 2 questions. Why isn't my real strength increasing? Why has my leveling speed suddenly become so slow? The dungeon system will now answer both. 1. Why isn't my real strength increasing? Your real body only begins to grow after your status level has fully synchronized with your real body level. Until synchronization reaches 100%, your real body will not receive the full benefits of leveling. First synchronize your current level. Only then does true growth begin. Approximate power comparison. Level 1 to 2, ordinary civilian. Level 3 to 4, genin. Level 5 to 6, chunin. Level 7 to 9, jonin. Level 10 to 14, cage level. Level 15 to 20, super cage. Examples: Madara Uchiha, Hashirama Senju. Above level 20, you are currently too weak to know. 2. Why has leveling become much slower? Many users experienced extremely rapid leveling during the early stages. That was normal. When the dungeon system was activated, your status panel always started at level 1. However, your real body was never reduced to level 1. A jonin remained as strong as a jonin. A cage remained as strong as a cage. The system never weakened anyone. You were simply catching your status level up to the strength you already possessed. Once your status level reaches your real body's level, your real growth finally begins. At that point, every level represents genuine improvement. Naturally, progress becomes slower. Remember, the dungeon system does not erase the time required to become stronger. It only shortens that journey. Real strength still has to be earned. So stop dreaming about becoming the strongest person in the world in 1 week. Go clear your dungeons. The announcement instantly spread across the entire ninja world. Silence followed. Then, everything exploded. Inside Konoha, a chunin stared at his phone. So, I've only been catching up to my own strength. A jonin beside him nodded. Looks like it. No wonder leveling slowed down. In Kumogakure, one shinobi sighed. I was wondering why I suddenly stopped leveling. His teammate laughed. You actually believed you'd surpass the Raikage in a month. The first shinobi scratched his head awkwardly. Maybe. Inside Iwagakure, Onoki reread one sentence several times. Above level 20, You are currently too weak to know. He smiled bitterly. So, even Madara and Hashirama aren't the ceiling. Across the ninja world, the biggest discussion wasn't about leveling anymore. It was about one sentence. Above level 20, people argued endlessly. How strong is level 21? Who exists above Madara? Does anyone in history qualify? No one knew. And the dungeon system offered no further explanation. Deep within the hidden mountain, Daichi laughed loudly. I knew that last line would drive everyone crazy. Ren smiled. They'll spend months arguing. Akira adjusted his glasses. But the important misunderstanding has been corrected. No one expects to become a Kage overnight anymore. Kyan nodded. The announcement also established realistic expectations. It prevents disappointment. Shun quietly looked at the discussion statistics flowing across his laptop. Player complaints about slow progression had already begun falling. He smiled faintly. People can accept slow growth. They just need to understand why. The husky looked at the analytics in amazement. You solved another problem. With a single announcement, Shun picked up his teacup. Most complaints come from misunderstanding. Explain the rules clearly, and people solve half the problem themselves. Outside, the players returned to their dungeons. This time, not expecting miracles, but understanding that every level had to be earned. Chapter 87, Recruiting the Legends. That evening, the five gathered around the meeting table once again. Several reports lay scattered across it. Kyan quietly read through the latest statistics. Then, he frowned. We have a problem. The others looked up. What is it? Kyan pointed at one graph. Player distribution. Beginner players, 99.98%. Elite players, 0.02%. The number of elite players is pitifully small. He continued. The multi-team monster horde dungeon will teach teamwork. But beginners also need role models. They need experienced teams to learn from. Ren nodded. The stronger players are simply too few. They can't guide millions. Silence filled the room. Everyone began thinking. Then, Kyan's eyes suddenly widened. I remembered something. He immediately looked at the husky. I have a question. The husky tilted his head. What is it? Kyan asked calmly. Can dead people become your users? The room fell silent. The husky blinked. Yes. Everyone looked at him. He shrugged. As long as their souls still exist, they can become users. I already have liches, necromancers, ghosts, and other undead races among my users. They simply use soul bodies instead of physical ones. Before anyone else could speak, Shun immediately understood Kyan's idea. You're thinking about recruiting the dead. Kyan nodded. Exactly. The husky raised one paw. There is one problem. The dead don't possess physical bodies. So, only their souls become stronger. Their physical strength obviously can't increase. Akira smiled. That's not a problem. Everyone looked toward him. The shop system already sells resurrection items. If they continue clearing dungeons, they can earn gold, and eventually, they can purchase their own resurrection. Silence. Even the husky stared at him. I never thought of that. Ren laughed. So the dungeon becomes both their training ground and their path back to life. Daichi grinned. I like it. Kyan continued his analysis. We're solving several problems at once. He began counting on his fingers. First, we gain a large number of elite users. Second, the beginners finally have experienced players to learn from. Third, many legendary teams from history can fight together again. Ren immediately continued. The first Hokage and Tobarama. The Sannin, the White Fang's generation, famous clans, ancient battlefield commanders. They already know teamwork. Shun nodded. They'll naturally become examples. Akira added. And from the beginner's perspective, they won't just hear lectures about teamwork. They'll witness history's greatest teams fighting in front of them. The room became quiet. The idea became more brilliant the longer they thought about it. Daichi suddenly laughed. Imagine the faces of the younger generation when they enter a dungeon and see legendary shinobi clearing monsters together. Even the husky chuckled. That would certainly motivate them. Kyan looked toward the husky once more. Can you locate souls that are still intact? The husky nodded. Yes, as long as they haven't completely disappeared. I can invite them. But, he paused. I'll need their consent. Shun smiled. That's only fair. We're offering them an opportunity, not forcing them. Akira opened a notebook. We should prepare a proper invitation. Ren nodded, and clearly explained the rules. No hidden conditions. They deserve respect. Daichi stretched. So, the next generation learns from the previous generation. Kyan smiled. Exactly. A civilization shouldn't throw away its greatest teachers simply because they died. The husky looked at the five with admiration. For thousands of years, He had viewed death as the end of a user's journey. These 5 had just turned it into the beginning of another. He slowly closed his notebook. Quote, "Every time I think I've seen your craziest idea, you somehow surprise me again." Shun quietly picked up his teacup. The greatest resource in any world isn't its land, or its treasures, its experience, and history. Already created countless experts. Outside, millions of beginners continued clearing low-level dungeons. None of them knew that somewhere beyond the world of the living, the greatest legends in history were about to receive an invitation to become adventurers once again. Chapter 88, Invitations to the Departed. The following morning, the research room was unusually quiet. No one spoke. Recruiting the dead was not a small decision. Even the husky wore a serious expression. He looked toward the 5. "If we're going to do this, we need rules." Shun nodded. "Agreed. No exceptions." Akira immediately opened a notebook. Rule 1. No soul will be forced. Participation is completely voluntary. Ren added. Rule 2. Every invited soul will receive complete information. They will know exactly what they're agreeing to. Daichi smiled. No tricks. Kaien wrote the final rule. Rule 3. If someone refuses, we never disturb them again. The husky nodded approvingly. "I like these rules." He waved his paw. A blue screen appeared in the middle of the room. Millions of names flowed across it. The 5 looked at it in silence. Heroes, villains, clan leaders, unknown shinobi, forgotten legends. The history of the ninja world seemed to be flowing before their eyes. The husky explained. These are the souls that still exist. Some are strong, some are weak, some have only recently died. Others have existed for centuries. Ren looked at the endless list. So many. The husky smiled. Death doesn't erase everyone. Kaien stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he shook his head. No. Everyone turned toward him. We're not limiting this. Shun frowned slightly. What do you mean? Kaien's eyes sharpened. We will invite everyone. The room fell silent. Akira blinked. Everyone. Kaien nodded. We can guarantee we know every powerful individual and every great teacher in history. His voice grew colder, more certain. Because we are the biggest joke in history. The others froze. Kaien continued. Even in the original story, we hid ourselves so well that no one knew we existed. Everyone believed we were dead. He looked back at the endless list of souls. If anyone understands the forgotten, it's us. Silence lingered. Then slowly, Shun smiled. Quote, You're right. Ren laughed softly. Then let's stop thinking small. Daichi grinned. The biggest recruitment in history. Akira adjusted her glasses. I'll prepare the system for mass invitations. The husky blinked. Quote, All of them. Kaien nodded. All of them. The husky suddenly asked. What message should I send? The room became quiet. Shun thought for a long moment. Then he slowly spoke. Don't promise power. Don't promise resurrection. Only promise an opportunity. He looked toward the husky. If they come, it should be because they choose to. The husky nodded. I understand. He began typing. Invitation. To the soul receiving this message. Asterisk. A new path has become available. Asterisk. You have been invited to become a dungeon user. Asterisk. You will receive a spiritual body and may continue growing stronger. Asterisk. By clearing dungeons, you may earn rewards, knowledge, and opportunities. Asterisk. Those who wish to one day return to the world of the living may purchase resurrection through the dungeon shop after earning sufficient gold. Asterisk. Participation is entirely voluntary. Asterisk. Declining this invitation carries no penalty. Asterisk. The husky looked at the 5. Good. Kaien nodded. Perfect. No deception. No pressure. The husky slowly raised his paw. Then, I'm sending it. With a single tap, countless invitations vanished. They crossed the boundary between life and death. Silence filled the room. No one knew who would answer. Or how they would react. Several minutes later, a notification appeared. Invitations accepted. 1, 5, 17, 32. The number continued rising, then accelerating. Hundreds. Thousands. More. Ren smiled. They're accepting. Akira looked at the statistics, eyes widening. This is far beyond projections. Daichi laughed. I guess even legends get bored after being dead. The husky chuckled. Quote, Apparently, the numbers kept climbing. History itself was answering the call. Far beyond the world of the living, countless legendary souls opened their eyes once again. Each stood before a glowing blue gate. Beyond it, waited another journey, another battlefield, another opportunity to grow. History was no longer in the past. Chapter 89, Legends Return. Beyond the boundary between life and death, countless souls stood before glowing blue gates. For some, Only a few years had passed since their deaths. For others, centuries, millennia. Time had long since lost its meaning. Now, a single message echoed through that silent world. A new path has opened. Become a dungeon user. Walk once more. One by one, the gates opened. The first soul stepped forward. A legendary swordsman from the Warring States era. He looked at the blue screen before him. So, there is another road after death. Without hesitation, he accepted. His soul was instantly wrapped in blue light. A new body, made entirely of spiritual energy, slowly formed around him. He clenched his fist. I can feel strength again. Elsewhere, a famous medical ninja read the invitation several times. No tricks, no hidden contract, only an opportunity. She smiled gently. Then, I'll walk this road. She stepped through the gate. One after another, legendary shinobi accepted, clan founders, forgotten heroes, ancient commanders, brilliant strategists, masters of every weapon, teachers whose names had faded from history. Even many ordinary shinobi, people who had never become famous in life, chose to return, because everyone shared one thing: regret. Inside the management room, the acceptance counter continued climbing. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, 300,000, the numbers never stopped. Even the husky stared in disbelief. This is far beyond anything I expected. Akira looked at the statistics. The acceptance rate is over 90%. Ren smiled. Most people simply wanted another chance. Daichi laughed. I told you, nobody likes sitting around doing nothing for eternity. At that moment, a new notification appeared. Special user group created. Soul users. The husky blinked. I didn't create that. Everyone looked toward the screen. Another notification appeared. Reason: large number of soul-type users detected. Creating dedicated management category. The husky scratched his head. My system is evolving by itself again. Shun smiled. No, it's adapting. Kaien looked toward another report. How many accepted? The husky swallowed, then quietly answered. Nearly every legendary soul, and countless ordinary ones. The total, he looked at the final number, is over 600,000. Silence filled the room. Even Daichi stopped smiling. That's an army. Kaien slowly shook his head. No, he looked at the screen. It's 600,000 teachers. Ren nodded. They've lived through wars. They've experienced failure. They've built villages. They've protected families. They possess something beginners don't. Experience. Akira smiled. An experience cannot be learned from books. Far away, inside the first soul dungeon, thousands of newly awakened spiritual bodies looked around. Some recognized old comrades. Some recognized old enemies. Others simply stood in silence. Death had erased many things. But the desire to move forward remained. A calm voice echoed throughout the dungeon. It belonged to the husky. Welcome. From today onward, you are dungeon users. You are no longer bound by death. You will grow stronger. You will earn rewards. And if you truly desire it, you may one day purchase your own resurrection. Silence. Then, an elderly shinobi slowly raised his hand. So, if I work hard enough, I can meet my grandchildren. The husky smiled. Yes. The old man quietly lowered his head. Then, I'll start clearing dungeons immediately. One by one, the legendary souls picked up their weapons. Some drew swords. Some formed hand seals. Some simply smiled. History had returned to the battlefield. Not to wage another war, but to build the future. And somewhere inside the hidden mountain, the 5 researchers quietly watched the first generation of soul users enter their beginner dungeons. Kaien smiled. The greatest academy in history has finally opened. Chapter 90, Raising the Difficulty. Only one day later, the 5 received another report. Akira opened it, then looked surprised. Already, the others turned toward him. He projected the report onto the wall. Soul User Synchronization Report. Users fully synchronized, 97.8%. Average time required, 1 day. Daichi nearly spilled his tea. 1 day. That's impossible. The husky smiled. It isn't. They're different from ordinary beginners. Ren nodded in understanding. They've already spent their entire lives fighting. They don't need to learn combat. They only need to synchronize their soul with the status panel. Shun smiled. They skipped the learning phase. They're simply adapting to a new system. Another report appeared. Average daily dungeon clears. Living users, 4.2. Soul users, 15.8. The room became silent. Daichi laughed. They've been grinding all day. The husky nodded. They don't need to sleep. They don't need to eat. They don't become physically exhausted. The moment one dungeon ends, they immediately enter another. Akira adjusted his glasses. Their efficiency is terrifying. Kyan suddenly stood. We have another problem. The room immediately became serious. He pointed toward the planned update. Multi-team monster horde dungeon. Originally, the dungeon had been designed around the living population. Level 15, 30 times the normal monster population. At the time, it had seemed more than enough. Kyan shook his head. Not anymore. He pointed at another report. The living world barely has any super cage level fighters. Level 17 to level 20 users are extremely rare. But now, he changed the screen. The names of legendary soul users appeared. Hashirama Senju, Madara Uchiha, Tobarama Senju, Izuna Uchiha, Mito Uzumaki. Countless legendary figures from every era. Then, two names appeared at the very top. Hagoromo Otsutsuki, estimated level, 25. Hamura Otsutsuki, estimated level, 24. Even Daichi became quiet. Those two joined too. The husky nodded. They accepted the invitation almost immediately. Ren smiled. I suppose even the Sage of Six Paths wanted another challenge. Shun calmly looked at the numbers. The current horde dungeon won't last 5 minutes. Everyone nodded. It had been designed for ordinary cage-level players. Not for monsters capable of reshaping history. Kyan immediately began making changes. The dungeon must evolve. He deleted the previous configuration. Then entered a new one. Monster Horde Dungeon. Recommended level, 25. Monster population, 150 standard density. Akira raised an eyebrow. 5 times the previous amount. Kyan nodded. 30 times was enough for cage-level fighters. But level 25 users. He looked toward Hagoromo's estimated level. Fight on a completely different scale. Ren added, we also need stronger commanders. Ordinary monsters will simply become experience points. Daichi grinned. And bigger bosses. Much bigger. The husky looked impressed. You're redesigning an entire dungeon. Because 2 users joined. Shun shook his head. No. He pointed toward the list. We're redesigning it. Because hundreds of thousands of experienced souls joined. They'll optimize every strategy. They'll clear content far faster than living users. If we don't increase the difficulty, they'll outgrow the dungeon in days. Akira smiled. So the dungeon must evolve. Just like the players. The husky slowly nodded. For thousands of years, he had adjusted dungeons after users became stronger. The 5 were predicting future growth before it happened. Kyan pressed the final confirmation button. Dungeon updated successfully. The new Monster Horde dungeon was ready. Level 25, 150 times the normal monster population. Built to withstand not only the strongest living shinobi, but also the greatest legends in the history of the ninja world. Shun quietly looked at the completed design. Then smiled. I wonder how long this version will survive. Daichi laughed. With those lunatics. He shook his head. Probably less than a month. Even the husky couldn't argue with that. Somewhere inside the soul dungeons, the Sage of Six Paths calmly finished another dungeon. A blue notification appeared. Dungeon cleared. He smiled slightly. Interesting. And without resting, he entered the next one. Chapter 91, if we're doing it. The redesign meeting continued. The blueprint for the new Monster Horde dungeon floated above the table. Level 25, 150 times the normal monster population. Everyone thought the meeting was almost over. Then, Shun looked toward the husky. I have a question. The husky looked up. What is it? Do you have monsters that can fight above their own level? The husky tilted his head. What kind? Shun began listing them. Dragons with powerful bloodlines. Champion trolls. Ancient serpents. High bloodline magical beasts. Anything similar. He paused. But don't let any of them exceed level 25. The husky thought for a moment. Yes, I have plenty. They're all kept in the high-level monster reserves. They're rare monsters. Most possess exceptional bloodlines. Some specialize in physical combat. Some in magic. Some in regeneration. Some can fight opponents several levels above themselves. Kyan slowly turned toward Shun. You're bringing monsters. To fight monsters. Shun nodded without hesitation. Yes. The room fell silent. Then, a smile slowly spread across Daichi's face. Ha, I like this already. Ren leaned forward. So the ordinary horde becomes the battlefield. And elite monsters become the commanders. Akira was already writing notes. We'll force the players to adapt constantly. Every elite monster should require a different strategy. Shun smiled. They should remember this dungeon. For the rest of their lives. That single sentence changed everything. The room immediately became lively. This was the most terrifying thing about the five. Whenever one of them proposed a crazy idea, the other four never tried to stop it. They refined it, expanded it, made it even crazier. The husky had witnessed this countless times since meeting them. Every meeting followed the same pattern. One impossible idea ended as an even bigger one. The husky silently sighed. Here we go again. Daichi spoke first. If we're doing this, we need giant monsters. The kind that shake the battlefield just by walking. Ren nodded. We also need intelligent monsters. Enemies that command smaller monsters. Not just mindless beasts. Akira added. And flying elites. If every threat comes from the ground, the battle becomes predictable. Shun nodded. Poison specialists. Regenerating monsters. Fast assassins. Long-range attackers. Magic users. Each one should test a different skill. Kyan quietly listened to everyone's suggestions. Then he began organizing them. Finally, he announced the completed list. We'll need. He looked toward the husky. 2 level 25 elite monsters. They'll serve as the final battlefield commanders. The husky nodded and wrote it down. Kyan continued. At least 20 level 20 elite monsters. They'll command different regions of the battlefield. Every one must be a different species. No duplicates. Each must possess unique abilities. Akira continued. Some should specialize in aerial combat. Some in defense. Some in regeneration. Some in crowd control. Ren smiled. And at least one dragon. Daichi immediately added. And a champion troll. Shun looked toward the husky. And an ancient serpent. The husky sighed. You people aren't building a dungeon anymore. You're creating a war. Kyan smiled calmly. No. He pointed toward the blueprint. We're creating an unforgettable lesson. The strongest teachers. Or unforgettable experiences. The husky stared at the completed design. 2 level 25 commanders. 20 elite captains. Hundreds of thousands of ordinary monsters. Every battlefield filled with different threats. Every encounter requiring different tactics. He slowly closed the blueprint. I almost feel sorry. For the players. Daichi burst into laughter. Don't. They wanted stronger opponents. Ren smiled. They're about to get them. Far away. Inside the monster reserves of another world. Ancient creatures slowly opened their eyes. Dragons. Champion trolls. Ancient serpents. Creatures that had ruled battlefields for centuries. None of them knew that they had just been recruited as instructors. Chapter 92, the largest dungeon update. 2 days later, every phone in the ninja world vibrated simultaneously. A system notification appeared before every user. Dungeon Online Update. Version 2.0. New content released. Multi-team Monster Horde Dungeon. Recommended team size, 5. Maximum number of teams, unlimited. Objective, survive and eliminate the Horde commanders. Warning, this dungeon is designed for cooperation between multiple teams. The entire ninja world erupted. A new dungeon, it needs multiple teams, unlimited teams. What does that even mean? Within minutes, players from every hidden village began forming parties. Deep inside the hidden mountain, the five silently watched the statistics. The husky looked slightly nervous. Are you sure about this? Kyan smiled. We'll know soon enough. The first batch of players entered. Hundreds of blue lights flashed. Then thousands. Entire clans. Groups of friends. Academy graduates. Experienced shinobi. Legendary soul users. Everyone entered the same battlefield. The moment they arrived, silence filled the battlefield. Then, every player's expression froze. The battlefield stretched beyond the horizon. Mountains. Ruined cities. Forests. Rivers. Everything had become a battlefield. And everywhere they looked, monsters. Countless monsters. The monster density alone made people's scalps go numb. One young chunin swallowed. How many are there? Nobody answered. Because no one could count them. Then, the ground shook. Boom, boom, boom. Far away, a gigantic dragon slowly rose into the sky. Its crimson wings blocked the sunlight. Another direction, a champion troll smashed an entire mountain with one punch. On the eastern battlefield, an ancient serpent coiled around a cliff several kilometers long. The players stood frozen. One academy graduate whispered. That's still level 15. Before anyone could answer, a system notification appeared. Elite commander detected. Dragon Lord, level 20. Another appeared. Champion troll, level 20. Another. Ancient serpent, level 20. Then another. And another. Until 20 different elite commanders appeared across the battlefield. Each one completely different. Each commanding tens of thousands of monsters. The players' faces turned pale. Then, The sky darkened. Everyone instinctively looked upward. High above the battlefield, two enormous figures silently watched everything below. One resembled a black dragon covered in golden scales. The other, a six-armed giant clad in crimson armor. Another notification appeared. Supreme Commander. Level 25. Supreme Commander. Level 25. No further explanation. No names. Only levels. The pressure alone made countless beginners instinctively step backward. Inside the management room, the Husky looked at the battlefield. He slowly turned toward the five. I think, you may have overdone it. Daichi laughed. Perfect. They wanted a challenge. Ren smiled. They'll never forget this dungeon. Akira calmly observed the player behavior. As expected, no one is charging recklessly. Everyone is discussing tactics. Kaien nodded with satisfaction. They've already learned the first lesson. Shun smiled. What lesson? Kaien looked toward the battlefield. When an enemy is overwhelmingly stronger than you, pride disappears. Only cooperation remains. At that very moment, the first living teams noticed something unexpected. Groups of legendary soul users had already begun organizing themselves. Without arguments, without confusion, without panic, each squad moved with flawless coordination. One team drew monster attention. Another attacked from the sides. A third rescued injured players. A fourth eliminated aerial threats. They moved like a perfectly trained army. One young Jonin watched the scene in disbelief. So, this is what true teamwork looks like. Behind him, thousands of beginners silently watched. Not a single lecture had been given. Not a single speech had been made. Yet, everyone understood. The greatest lesson was being taught on the battlefield itself. Chapter 92 Part 2, One World Chat. The multi-team Monster Horde dungeon had only been open for a few hours. The battlefield was filled with living players and legendary soul users. Until now, the two groups had never been able to communicate. The five had intentionally kept the two world chat channels separate. The living had their own chat. The soul users had theirs. They wanted both sides to adapt first. Now, Shun looked at the battlefield. I think it's time. The others looked toward him. Akira immediately understood. You want to merge the world chats. Shun nodded. The living should know. They aren't fighting alone. They should see that even the greatest legends in history fight as teams. Kaien smiled. Approved. The Husky looked confused. Wouldn't that reveal the existence of the dead? Ren laughed. They're already fighting in the same dungeon. They'll find out sooner or later. Daichi grinned. And it'll be much more fun this way. The Husky shrugged. Fair enough. With a wave of his paw, the two chat servers merged into one. System announcement. World chat updated. Living users and soul users may now communicate through the same world chat. For a few seconds, the chat remained completely silent. Then, it exploded. Konoha _Genin 34 Wait. Soul users. Sand Merchant. What does that mean? Hidden Mist 42 are those NPCs. Soul _user _118 number. Soul _user _245 We were once shinobi. Cloud _Jonin What? Leaf Academy 01 You're dead. Soul _user _008 Correct. Rock _Chunin. Mist Hunter. The entire chat froze. Then another message appeared. Hashirama Senju Team 3. Fall back 50 meters. The dragon is preparing a breath attack. Everyone stopped typing. The name was impossible to ignore. 1 second later, another message appeared. Tobarama Senju Team 7, stop chasing. You're walking into an encirclement. Then, Madara Uchiha HMPH. Tobarama is right for once. The chat exploded. Leaf Genin 55 Hashirama. Cloud Jonin Wait. Sand Shinobi Madara. Mist Anbu This has to be a joke. Before anyone could recover, more names appeared. Tsukumo Hataki right flank needs reinforcement. Kagami Uchiha teams, don't separate. Mito Uzumaki medical teams, prepare barrier support. Messages continued pouring in. None of the legendary shinobi introduced themselves. None boasted about their achievements. They only discussed formations, battlefield positions, enemy movements, team coordination. The living players watched in stunned silence. A young Chunin whispered, They're not showing off. His teammate nodded. They're only talking about the battle. Inside the hidden mountain, the five quietly observed the world chat. Daichi smiled. I think the beginners just learned another lesson. Ren nodded. The strongest people talk about teamwork. Akira looked at the statistics. The number of tactical messages increased by nearly 300%. Kaien smiled. As expected, when beginners see legends behaving a certain way, they naturally imitate them. The Husky looked at the merged chat in amazement. I thought there would be chaos. Shun shook his head. No, we just needed the right examples. At that moment, another message appeared. Hagoromo Otsutsuki. No matter how strong an individual becomes, a battlefield is won by those who trust each other. For nearly 10 seconds, no one typed anything. Then, the world chat was flooded with a single message. Understood. Thousands. Then tens of thousands. Then hundreds of thousands of identical replies appeared. The five exchanged smiles. They had spent weeks trying to teach teamwork through rules. In the end, one conversation between history's greatest legends had taught the lesson far better than any system announcement ever could. Chapter 93, History's Strongest Teams. The merged world chat completely changed the atmosphere inside the Monster Horde dungeon. Until now, the living shinobi had only heard stories about the legends. Now, they were watching them fight in real time. Not as heroes, not as gods, but as teammates. Near the center of the battlefield, a gigantic dragon swept across the sky. Its fiery breath engulfed an entire mountain range. Hundreds of players instinctively retreated. Just then, a calm voice echoed through the world chat. Tobarama Senju, Team 12, Barrier Formation. Mito Uzumaki, already prepared. Golden ceiling barriers instantly rose into the sky. The dragon's flames crashed against them. Boom! The explosion shook the battlefield. Not a single player behind the barrier was injured. The living shinobi stared in shock. That was planned. On another battlefield, a champion troll charged through thousands of monsters. Its gigantic club swept across the ground. Before it could reach the front line, another message appeared. Hashirama Senju, don't stop it. Move. The younger shinobi hesitated. Why would they let it through? The answer came a second later. The troll unknowingly stepped into a massive ceiling formation prepared in advance. Hundreds of chains erupted from underground. Its movement stopped instantly. From behind, Madara's team attacked simultaneously. The champion troll fell within seconds. One young Jonin finally understood. They predicted its path. Before it even moved, far away, the ancient serpent attempted to surround a group of beginners. Before panic could spread, another message appeared. Tsukumo Hataki, Team 21. Rotate clockwise. Without understanding why, they obeyed. The next moment, the serpent's ambush completely failed. Instead, it exposed its weakest point. Veteran soul users immediately exploited the opening. The battlefield became a classroom. Every legendary team fought differently. Hashirama's team overwhelmed enemies with coordination and support. Tobarama's team relied on precise tactics and battlefield control. Madara's team specialized in overwhelming offense while maintaining perfect formation. Tsukumo's team moved silently, eliminating elite monsters before anyone even noticed. Every beginner watched carefully. Every movement, every command, every decision, was another lesson. Inside the world chat, questions flooded in. Leaf Genin 84, Lord 2nd, why did you retreat instead of attacking? Tobarama Senju, because surviving today's battle is more important than winning one exchange. Cloud Chunin, Lord 1st, why are you protecting weaker teams? Hashirama Senju, because today's beginners become tomorrow's veterans. Sand Jonin, Lord Madara, why are you fighting with a team? Several seconds passed. Everyone waited. Finally, Madara answered. Madara Uchiha, only fools reject useful allies. The world chat became completely silent. Even Tobarama stopped typing. A minute later, someone finally replied. Leaf Genin 02, I never thought I'd hear Lord Madara say that. Even Madara didn't respond. Inside the hidden mountain, the five watched the battlefield with satisfaction. Akira smiled. They're learning faster than expected. Ren nodded. They're not just watching techniques. They're learning attitudes. Kaien looked at another report. The number of players requesting fixed teams increased by 400%. Daichi laughed loudly. I guess watching history's strongest people cooperate is more convincing than any announcement. Shun quietly sipped his tea. People imitate those they admire. We simply gave them the right role models. The husky looked at the statistics. Player cooperation, average survival rate, team synchronization, every graph was climbing. He slowly smiled. Another successful experiment. Outside, the battle continued. The legendary soul users never once lectured the younger generation. They didn't need to. Every formation they created, every teammate they protected, every coordinated attack, spoke louder than words. For the first time, the living shinobi understood something. The legends of history had never become great by fighting alone. And perhaps, neither would they. Chapter 94, The First Victory. 3 days later, the multi-team Monster Horde dungeon had become the most popular dungeon in the entire ninja world. Every day, hundreds of thousands of players entered. Most failed. Some survived. Very few reached the elite commanders. But every team improved. The failure rate steadily decreased. Inside the hidden mountain, Akira projected the latest statistics. Week 1 report. Average team survival rate, 42%. Average team synchronization, 31%. Fixed teams created, 580%. Solo dungeon attempts, -63%. Daichi smiled. Looks like they finally learned. Ren nodded. They've stopped trying to become lone heroes. Kyan quietly observed another graph. The number of rescue attempts has also increased. Shun looked at the report. Instead of abandoning weaker teammates, experienced players had begun protecting them, without anyone ordering them to do so. At that moment, a loud notification echoed across the management room. Dungeon event. One elite commander defeated. Everyone looked toward the battlefield. Akira enlarged the live view. A level 20 champion troll had fallen. But it hadn't been defeated by legendary soul users. It had been defeated by living shinobi. A coalition of 12 independent teams. 60 people. From 5 different villages. Leaf, cloud, sand, stone, mist. None of them had known each other before entering the dungeon. Yet they had fought as one. The world chat immediately exploded. System, congratulations. The first elite commander has been defeated by living users. Cheers filled the chat. But before anyone could celebrate for long, a familiar message appeared. Hashirama Senju, excellent teamwork. Another followed. Tobarama Senju, you made mistakes. But you corrected them. Then, even Madara spoke. Madara Uchiha, don't become arrogant. You defeated one commander. 19 remain. The celebration instantly calmed down. Daichi burst into laughter. Only Madara could congratulate someone, while making them feel pressured. Even the husky laughed. On the battlefield, the 60 shinobi looked at each other. No one cared which village the others came from. No one asked about clan names. For those few hours, they had simply been teammates. One young mist shinobi smiled. See you tomorrow. A leaf shinobi nodded. Same time, a cloud ninja grinned. We're keeping this team. Without realizing it, they had created something that had almost never existed in the ninja world. A team that crossed village boundaries. Inside the hidden mountain, Kyan quietly watched the scene. Then he smiled. It worked. Ren looked toward him. The dungeon. Kyan shook his head. No, our real goal. Akira immediately understood. We wanted them to stop seeing each other as enemies. Shun nodded. They entered as leaf, cloud, sand, stone, and mist. They left as teammates. The husky silently watched the celebration. Then looked at the 5. I thought your goal was to make stronger users. Shun smiled faintly. Strength was never the goal. The husky blinked. Then what was? Shun looked at the battlefield where players from different villages were laughing together after defeating the champion troll. A stronger world. Silence filled the room. For the first time, even the husky had no joke to make. Outside, the war-torn ninja world had unknowingly taken its first small step toward peace. Not because of treaties, not because of negotiations, but because 60 strangers had trusted one another on a battlefield. Chapter 95, The Battle Against the Ancient Serpent. On the eastern battlefield, an ancient serpent slowly slithered across the mountains. Its body stretched for several kilometers. Every movement shattered cliffs. Its emerald scales reflected the sunlight like armor. A pair of golden eyes silently observed the battlefield. Every few seconds, it released poisonous mist that covered entire valleys. Hundreds of teams had already challenged it. Hundreds had failed. Far away, a familiar team approached. At the front, Hashirama Senju. Beside him, Madara Uchiha. Behind them, Tobarama Senju, Mito Uzumaki, Izuna Uchiha. 5 legends. One team. The living players immediately stopped fighting. Everyone turned their attention toward them. Even the world chat became unusually quiet. The ancient serpent slowly raised its head. Then, it disappeared. Boom. The ground exploded beneath Hashirama. Without panic, Hashirama calmly clapped his hands. Wood release. Gigantic wooden roots erupted from the earth. Instead of attacking, they wrapped around the nearby teams. Protecting them, the younger shinobi stared. Lord first, protected them before protecting himself. The serpent burst out of the ground again. This time directly beneath Madara. Madara didn't move. Instead, he calmly looked toward Tobarama. Tobarama. Left. No explanation. No detailed command. Just one word. Tobarama instantly disappeared. The next moment, flying thunder god. The serpent's enormous head was forced several meters off its original path. It narrowly missed Madara. Madara smiled faintly. I knew you'd understand. Tobarama snorted. HMPH. I simply didn't want to lose our damage dealer. The surrounding players blinked. Quote. Did they just complement each other? The battle intensified. The ancient serpent released a sea of poisonous mist. Visibility dropped to almost zero. Hashirama closed his eyes. Sage mode. Natural energy spread throughout the battlefield. He instantly located the serpent. 3 o'clock. Madara nodded once. No more words were needed. Perfect Susanoo erupted around him. Its enormous blade descended. Boom. The serpent dodged at the last second. But that had never been the real attack. At the exact moment it moved, Mito's sealing chains erupted from underground. The serpent's body froze. I've got it. Hashirama immediately followed. Massive wooden dragons wrapped around the ancient serpent. Layer after layer. The giant beast struggled violently. The mountains trembled. Cracks spread across the battlefield. Even so, it couldn't escape. Madara smiled. Now, Perfect Susanoo raised its sword again. This time, there was nowhere left to dodge. Slash. The gigantic blade cut across the serpent's body. Several emerald scales shattered. Dark blood covered the mountains. The living players gasped. It was the first time anyone had successfully wounded the ancient serpent. The serpent roared. The sound shook the entire dungeon. Its tail swept toward the legends. Before anyone reacted, Izuna appeared. His Susanoo blocked the impact for a single second. That second was enough. Tobirama instantly teleported everyone away. The tail struck empty ground. An entire mountain disappeared. The world chat exploded. Leaf Jonin, incredible. Cloud Shinobi, they haven't wasted a single movement. Sand Chunin, they don't even need to speak. Mist Anbu, every attack is connected to the next. Inside the hidden mountain, the five watched silently. Akira smiled. They're not relying on individual strength. Ren nodded. They're relying on trust. Kaien looked at another statistic. Average communication. He smiled. Less than 10 words per minute. Daichi laughed. They don't need speeches. They've fought together before. Shun quietly watched the battlefield. That's what years of teamwork looks like. Back on the battlefield, the ancient serpent was breathing heavily. It had fought countless opponents. But never a team like this. Hashirama looked toward Madara. Madara nodded. No words. No strategy discussion. Just a single glance. Both understood. They disappeared simultaneously. One attacked from above, the other from below. Wood release restrained the serpent's movement. Perfect Susanoo delivered the finishing strike. Boom. The ancient serpent's massive body crashed to the ground. A system notification echoed across the battlefield. Elite Commander defeated. Ancient Serpent eliminated. Silence filled the battlefield. Then, thunderous cheers erupted from every direction. The younger generation had just witnessed history. Not the legendary duel between Hashirama and Madara, but something even rarer. The two greatest rivals in history. Fighting side by side as perfect teammates. For many young shinobi, that sight alone was worth entering the dungeon. Chapter 100, The Battle Against the Elite Commanders. As the days passed, the multi-team monster horde dungeon became a true battlefield. The 20 elite commanders were no longer viewed as impossible enemies. They had become milestones. Every commander required a different strategy. Every victory taught a different lesson. The Dragon Lord ruled the skies. Thousands of flying monsters followed its commands. Ordinary attacks couldn't even reach it. Instead of chasing the dragon, the legendary teams first eliminated every flying monster surrounding it. Only after gaining complete control of the air did they challenge the Dragon Lord itself. The younger generation immediately understood. Control the battlefield first. Fight the commander second. The champion troll. The champion troll possessed overwhelming physical strength. Its regeneration was terrifying. Every wound healed within seconds. Many teams tried to overpower it. Every one failed. Finally, Tsunade, Hashirama, and several legendary medical ninjas discovered the answer. Destroy the joints. Seal the regeneration. Only then attack the vital points. The battle lasted nearly 3 hours. When the champion troll finally fell, every player learned another lesson. Strength alone is meaningless without strategy. The Storm Griffin. Unlike the Dragon Lord, the Storm Griffin never stayed still. It attacked from incredible speeds. Entire teams were wiped out before seeing their enemy. Minato Namikaze became the first to understand its movement pattern. Flying Thunder God users predicted every flight path. The Griffin's greatest advantage, its speed, became its greatest weakness. After watching that battle, speed-type shinobi across the ninja world completely changed how they fought. The Crystal Golem. The Crystal Golem possessed nearly perfect defense. Every ninjutsu reflected back at the attacker. Physical attacks barely left scratches. For 2 days, no one could defeat it. Then Tobirama calmly analyzed the battlefield. Its absorbing chakra. The legendary sealing teams immediately changed tactics. Instead of attacking, they continuously drained its chakra. 6 hours later, the crystal golem finally exhausted its reserves. It shattered with a single punch. Another lesson spread throughout the dungeon. Not every enemy should be defeated by attacking harder. The Shadow Assassin. The Shadow Assassin never fought directly. It killed isolated players, retreated, then attacked somewhere else. Entire battlefields fell into panic. Finally, Tsukumo Hatake organized every player into 5-man formations. No one moves alone. The casualties immediately dropped to 0. The Shadow Assassin slowly lost every opportunity. 3 days later, it was surrounded and eliminated. The younger generation remembered that lesson well. Never abandon your formation. The Frost Giant. The Frost Giant froze rivers and mountains with every step. Its freezing aura slowed everyone's movements. The legendary Uchiha and Senju teams worked together. The Uchiha burned away the frozen battlefield with massive fire release. The Senju reshaped the terrain with wood release. Other teams attacked while the battlefield remained stable. For the first time, the younger generation witnessed 2 rival clans combining their specialties instead of competing. Inside the management room, the 5 quietly watched battle after battle. Daichi laughed. I don't think they're learning combat anymore. Ren smiled. They're learning command. Akira projected another report. Average team coordination increased by 61%. Average independent decision-making increased by 48%. Kyan nodded. They've stopped waiting for instructions. They're solving problems themselves. Shun looked toward the battlefield. Good. The purpose of a teacher isn't to create followers. It's to create people who no longer need the teacher. The husky quietly looked at the statistics. Every elite commander had become more than a boss. Each had become a lesson. Each defeat had made the ninja world stronger. He smiled. Version 2 is far more successful than I imagined. Outside, the battle continued. 20 elite commanders still stood across the battlefield. Each one represented another challenge, another lesson, another step toward becoming stronger. And for the millions of players entering the Monster Horde dungeon each day, every commander defeated meant one thing: the impossible could be overcome. Together. Chapter 101, The Forgotten Brother. The battlefield suddenly became silent. Not because the fighting had stopped, but because the final battlefield had opened. At the center of the Monster Horde dungeon, the 2 supreme commanders finally stepped forward. The first, a colossal black dragon whose wings covered the sky. The second, a 6-armed crimson giant carrying an enormous halberd. The pressure released by the 2 monsters alone forced countless players to retreat. Even Hashirama, Madara, Tobirama, and the other legendary soul users chose not to interfere. Hashirama smiled. This battle belongs to someone else. 2 figures slowly walked onto the battlefield. The first carried a black staff. 9 truth-seeking orbs floated behind him. No introduction was necessary. Everyone recognized him immediately. The Sage of 6 Paths. Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Walking beside him was another man wearing white robes. His face resembled Hagoromo's. His expression was calm. Most importantly, his eyes. Pure white Byakugan. More perfect than any Hyuga had ever seen. The world chat immediately exploded. Leaf Genin, Lord Hagoromo is fighting. Cloud Jonin, wait. Who's the man beside him? Mist Shinobi, his eyes look exactly like the Hyuga clans. Sand Chunin, why have we never heard of someone this powerful? Young Hyuga, those eyes. They're even purer than ours. Without saying a word, the 2 brothers stepped forward. The battle began. Boom. The black dragon opened its mouth. A pillar of black flames descended from the heavens. At the same time, the crimson giant swung its halberd. The attack split the earth apart. Hagoromo calmly raised his staff. A massive yin-yang barrier appeared. The dragon's flames disappeared the instant they touched it. Meanwhile, Hamura vanished. The next instant, he appeared directly in front of the crimson giant. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Palm after palm landed with unbelievable precision. The giant staggered backward. Its chakra flow had been completely disrupted. The Hyuga clan members watched in complete disbelief. So, that's the origin of the gentle fist. The battle immediately rose to another level. Every clash destroyed mountains. Every collision distorted the sky. The younger generation couldn't even follow their movements anymore. Only flashes of light appeared across the battlefield. Then, another explosion. Then another. Each one was stronger than anything they had ever witnessed. One young Jonin swallowed nervously. I can't even see them. Another shinobi smiled bitterly. They're too fast. They're fighting on a level completely beyond us. The world chat was filled with confusion. Leaf Jonin, who is that man beside the sage? Cloud Shinobi, he's fighting on equal footing with Lord Hagoromo. Young Hyuga, why does nobody know his name? Mist Anbu, someone explain. Finally, An elderly Hyuga soul user typed. Ancient Hyuga elder because. He left this world long ago. Silence filled the chat. Another message followed. Ancient Hyuga elder, that man. Is Hamura Otsutsuki. The younger brother of Hagoromo Otsutsuki. The ancestor of the Hyuga clan. The world chat froze. Every Hyuga member stared at their phones. Young Hyuga ancestor. Our ancestor. Ancient Hyuga elder, yes. After sealing Kagaya, Hamura left the ninja world. He journeyed to the moon. He and his descendants protected the world from there. A Senju elder suddenly asked another question. Senju elder, so, the sage of six paths protected the earth. And Lord Hamura protected the moon. Ancient Hyuga elder, correct. For thousands of years, both brothers protected the world. The Hyuga clan became completely silent. For generations, they had admired the sage of six paths. Yet, very few had even heard the name of their own ancestor. Now, that forgotten ancestor stood before them, fighting on the same level as Hagoromo himself. On the battlefield, the two brothers stood back to back. The black dragon descended from the sky. The crimson giant charged from the front. Hagoromo smiled. It has been thousands of years since we last fought together. Hamura smiled back. Let's remind the world why mother feared us. The next instant, the battlefield vanished beneath an explosion of chakra. Millions of players watched in stunned silence. For the first time, they had witnessed a battle far beyond the level of Cage. A battle between beings who stood at the peak of history. Chapter 102, The Battle of the Founders. The battlefield had become completely empty. Not because the players had fled, but because no one dared stand within 100 kilometers of the fight. This battle was not meant for ordinary shinobi. It was the battle of the founders. The black dragon spread its wings. Dark flames swallowed the sky. The crimson giant raised its 6 arms. Each arm pulsed with raw energy capable of tearing continents apart. The two supreme commanders attacked together. The entire battlefield trembled violently. Hagoromo stepped forward. His Rinnegan rotated slowly, without forming a single hand seal. He extended one hand. Shinra Tensai. A massive repulsive force exploded outward. The dragon's flames, the giant's shockwaves, even the clouds, everything was blasted away. But, the black dragon roared. Its body twisted midair, resisting the force. Its claws tore through the invisible pressure, forcing its way forward. At the same time, the crimson giant slammed its weapons into the ground. The earth cracked open. The shockwave split Hagoromo's repulsion, forcing him to take a step back. The younger generation froze. He didn't completely stop them. The black dragon roared again. Thousands of black lightning spears descended. Hagoromo raised his truth-seeking balls. They expanded into shields. Lightning struck, and vanished. But not all of it. Some spears pierced through the edges. One grazed Hagoromo's shoulder. The air exploded. For the first time, he moved. Meanwhile, Hamura vanished. His Byakugan tracked every movement of the crimson giant. Every muscle, every surge of energy, every weakness. His body ignited with cyan light. Tenseigan chakra mode. He appeared beside the giant, and struck. Gentle fist. The giant's arm trembled. Its internal energy flow destabilized, but did not stop. Instead, the crimson giant roared. Its remaining arms slammed down simultaneously. Hamura barely dodged. The ground beneath him shattered into nothingness. The Hyuga clan stared in shock. It resisted gentle fist. High above, Hagoromo summoned his perfect Susanoo. A colossal warrior of light. The black dragon charged directly at it. Claws met blade. The sky shattered. The sword of Nunoboko clashed against the dragon's fangs. The impact sent shockwaves across the horizon. Neither side gave way. Madara narrowed his eyes. So it can match him. The dragon opened its mouth. A beam of destruction erupted. Hagoromo slashed. The beam split, but the remaining energy still struck his Susanoo. Cracks spread across its armor. The battlefield shook violently. The world chat had gone silent. Millions watched. No one dared speak. Below, the crimson giant adapted. Its energy surged violently. The disrupted internal flows began to stabilize. Hamura's previous strikes were being undone. The giant roared. Its 6 arms gathered power again. Hamura narrowed his eyes. Then, his truth-seeking balls gathered. Golden light formed. A massive blade appeared. Golden wheel reincarnation explosion. Hamura swung. The golden blade tore across the battlefield. The crimson giant raised all 6 arms to block. 3 arms were severed instantly, but the remaining 3 held. The blade slowed. Stopped. Then, the giant pushed back. The shockwave forced Hamura to retreat. The younger generation gasped. It blocked that. At the same moment, the black dragon lunged again. Hagoromo raised both hands. Yin. Yom. Merged. Creation of all things. Chakra dragons emerged, but the black dragon roared. Its flames burned through them. Several creations collapsed midair, others clashed violently. The sky became a battlefield of dragons. The battlefield had become chaos. Space cracked. The earth collapsed. Mountains vanished. Neither side dominated. Neither side retreated. Inside the hidden mountain, the researchers watched in silence. Akira recorded everything. Ren exhaled slowly. This is no longer one-sided. Daichi nodded. They're adapting. Kaien analyzed rapidly. The monsters. They're evolving mid-battle. They're resisting techniques that should be absolute. Shun looked at Hamura. And Hamura is being forced to fight seriously. The husky spoke quietly. Now this is a real battle. Far away, the four figures clashed again. The black dragon roared. The crimson giant surged forward. Hagoromo smiled faintly. Interesting. Hamura tightened his grip on his staff. They're not ordinary opponents. The next instant, all four disappeared. Explosions tore across the battlefield. Reality itself trembled. No ordinary shinobi could follow the battle anymore. Chapter 103. The final phase. The battlefield had become a forbidden zone. Even Hashirama and Madara stood quietly on a distant mountain. Neither attempted to interfere. Hashirama smiled bitterly. I finally understand how everyone felt when they watched us fight. Madara crossed his arms. HMPH. We'd only get in their way. The black dragon suddenly laughed. A deep, ancient voice echoed across the battlefield. Excellent. It has been countless years since anyone forced me this far. The crimson giant also laughed. The strength of this world is far beyond what we expected. The younger generation was stunned. The monsters can speak. Inside the hidden mountain, Akira suddenly froze. Wait. Ren frowned. What is it? Akira quickly pulled up new data. They're not summoned creatures. Daichi blinked. Then what are they? The husky calmly spoke. They were forcefully teleported. Everyone turned toward it. From higher level dungeons. Silence filled the room. Kaien slowly processed the information. So, these monsters aren't meant to be here. The husky nodded. They belong to much higher level zones. Shun narrowed his eyes. And you brought them here. The husky didn't deny it. You wanted elite monsters at level 25. These are the closest match. Ren's expression stiffened. Closest match. The husky calmly continued. In their original environment, they are considered low-level monsters. The room fell completely silent. Back on the battlefield, neither the black dragon nor the crimson giant showed any awareness of this. They didn't know about the husky. They didn't know about the researchers. They didn't even know why they were here. They only knew one thing: fight. Without another word, the black dragon's body began changing. Its black scales became covered in crimson runes. Its wings doubled in size. The surrounding natural energy was forcefully absorbed into its body. The crimson giant underwent a similar transformation. The severed three arms regenerated. Dark armor completely covered its body. The pressure released by both monsters multiplied. Akira whispered, they've entered a second phase. Hamura calmly activated his Tenseigen to its limit. The cyan chakra cloak surrounding him became brighter. Truth-seeking orbs floated behind him. His Byakugan observed every microscopic movement. They're absorbing natural energy. Hagoromo nodded. So, they possess adaptation abilities. The black dragon vanished, not because it became invisible. Because it moved faster than anyone present could perceive. Even many legendary soul users lost sight of it. The next moment, crash. Its claws struck Hagoromo's perfect Susanoo. The giant warrior staggered backward. Cracks spread across its armor. The younger generation gasped. It damaged perfect Susanoo. At the same moment, the crimson giant appeared behind Hamura. Its speed had doubled. Its fist descended. Hamura barely crossed his staff in time. Boom. The impact launched him through three mountains. The Hyuga clan froze. Their ancestor had been pushed back. Hamura slowly stood. He looked at the crack on his staff. Then smiled. Now this is interesting. Hagoromo raised his hand. The Rinnegan glowed. Bansho Tenon. An overwhelming gravitational force pulled the black dragon toward him. But, the dragon slammed its wings. It anchored itself in space. The attraction slowed it, but failed to pull it completely. Hagoromo narrowed his eyes. It can resist gravity itself. The world chat remained silent. No one wanted to interrupt. Millions simply watched. The crimson giant attacked again. This time, it unleashed thousands of weapon strikes simultaneously. Hamura's Byakugan analyzed every trajectory. He dodged, countered, redirected. His gentle fist struck dozens of chakra points. Normally, any living being would have collapsed. Instead, The giant simply smiled. My chakra network is constantly changing. Hamura's expression finally became serious. It evolved. During the battle, inside the hidden mountain, the 5 researchers were completely focused. Akira's laptop continuously calculated combat data. It's learning. Ren nodded. Every technique only works once. Daichi grinned. So they have to invent new methods. Kaien smiled. Exactly. No perfect strategy lasts forever. Shun quietly looked at the battlefield. This is why adaptability is the greatest strength. The husky remained silent. High above, the black dragon gathered all its remaining power. The sky darkened. A gigantic sphere of black flames formed above its head. The crimson giant gathered crimson energy into its 6 weapons. The battlefield itself began collapsing under the pressure. Hamura looked toward Hagoromo. For the final exchange, Hagoromo smiled. 1 attack. Hamura nodded. 1 attack. The 2 brothers floated side by side. One surrounded by purple Rinnegan chakra. The other by brilliant cyan Tenseigan chakra. Yin, Yang, Rinnegan, Tenseigan. The founders of Ninshu stood together once more. Across the battlefield, millions unconsciously stopped breathing. Everyone knew. The next clash would decide the battle. Chapter 104. The last clash. The battlefield had become silent. The black dragon hovered high above the sky. The crimson giant stood upon the shattered earth. Across from them, Hagoromo and Hamura floated side by side. No one moved. No one spoke. Millions of players watched without blinking. Everyone understood. The next exchange would decide everything. The black dragon slowly spoke. You two are worthy opponents. The crimson giant nodded. We have fought countless civilizations. Very few reached this point. Hagoromo smiled faintly. Then let this battle be remembered. Hamura raised his crescent-shaped shakuho. It is time. The next instant, all 4 disappeared. No one saw them move. Only reality itself reacted. Boom. The sky split apart. Space cracked like broken glass. The shockwave alone flattened mountain ranges hundreds of kilometers away. Even Hashirama immediately raised enormous wooden barriers to protect the spectators. Madara's perfect Susanoo appeared beside them. Together, they barely blocked the aftermath. Hashirama laughed bitterly. We're only defending against the shockwaves. And it's already this difficult. Madara nodded. If we were inside the battlefield, the black dragon swung its claws. Each slash tore open spatial cracks. Hamura met every strike head-on. His Tenseigan chakra mode blazed brighter than ever. His Byakugan predicted every movement before it happened. He wasn't simply reacting. He was seeing several seconds into the opponent's future through microscopic changes in chakra flow. His staff collided with the dragon's claws. Thousands of sparks erupted. Meanwhile, the crimson giant charged toward Hagoromo. Its 6 weapons struck simultaneously. Hagoromo calmly raised one hand. Diva path. Gravity suddenly reversed. The giant's attack was redirected upward. Before it could recover, Hagoromo appeared directly before it. Human path. His hand reached toward the giant's chest. The giant roared. Dark energy erupted from its core, forcing Hagoromo backward before soul extraction could be completed. Hagoromo smiled. So your soul is protected. The crimson giant laughed. Our creator expected techniques like yours. Far away, the 5 researchers watched carefully. Akira immediately recorded that sentence. They know about soul attacks. Ren frowned. So they weren't created randomly. Kaien nodded. Their original world probably fights like this regularly. The husky quietly remained silent. Back on the battlefield, the black dragon suddenly spread its wings. Every crimson rune covering its body began glowing. Natural energy from the entire battlefield rushed toward it. The atmosphere became heavier. Hamura narrowed his eyes. It intends to finish this. At the same moment, the crimson giant raised all 6 weapons. Every remaining ounce of energy gathered into a single strike. Hagoromo looked toward Hamura. The younger brother nodded. Without another word, the 2 exchanged places instantly using space-time ninjutsu. The dragon's attack met Hagoromo. The giant's strike met Hamura. Silver wheel reincarnation explosion. Hamura spun. A gigantic silver hurricane erupted from his truth-seeking balls. The storm collided with the crimson giant's attack. The battlefield disappeared beneath endless light. At the same moment, Hagoromo closed his eyes. Natural energy. Yin, Yang. The 5 basic chakra natures. Everything merged together. His truth-seeking balls combined into the sword of Nunoboko. A sword said to have once shaped the world. He swung. One slash. Nothing flashy. Nothing complicated. Just one perfect strike. The black dragon raised both claws. For the first time, its scales shattered. A deep wound stretched across its chest. Dark blood rained from the sky. The dragon staggered backward. Impossible. The younger generation erupted. He injured it. Lord Hagoromo finally broke its defense. But before anyone could celebrate, the black dragon smiled. Its wound began healing. Not slowly. Instantly. Akira stared at the combat data. Complete regeneration. Daichi sighed. Of course. It wouldn't be the final boss otherwise. Hamura also landed beside Hagoromo. His breathing had become heavier. A small cut appeared across his cheek. The crimson giant wasn't unharmed either. 3 more cracks had spread across its armor. The 4 combatants stared at one another. No one had gained a decisive advantage. The black dragon laughed once more. Excellent. It has been tens of thousands of years since battle made my blood boil. The crimson giant grinned. You two have earned our respect. Hagoromo smiled. The feeling is mutual. Hamura calmly twirled his staff. Then, let's settle this. Behind the 2 brothers, 9 truth-seeking balls floated behind Hagoromo. 9 more floated behind Hamura. For the first time, the brothers released their full chakra together. The sky changed color. The moon trembled. Even the dungeon itself began shaking. Inside the management room, warning messages suddenly filled every screen. Warning, dungeon stability falling. 97%, 95%, 92%. The husky's eyes widened. They're using too much power. Shun immediately stood. If this continues, they might destroy the dungeon before the battle ends. The 5 looked at each other. For the first time since creating the Monster Horde dungeon, they realized the greatest danger was no longer the monsters. It was the legends fighting inside it. Chapter 105, A Real Dungeon. Inside the hidden mountain, every warning screen flashed red. Warning. Dungeon stability, 90%. 87%. 85%. The entire management room fell silent. Even the husky had become serious. It stared at the constantly dropping numbers. If this continues, the dungeon will collapse. Ren frowned. So the barrier can't withstand their battle. The husky nodded. This dungeon was originally built by separating only a small fragment of that world. I reduced its scale to match the experiment. But Hagoromo, Hamura, and those 2 monsters are releasing too much power. Akira quickly analyzed the data. The dungeon itself is stable. The problem is the barrier. It's no longer strong enough. Daichi looked toward the battlefield. So what now? Everyone turned toward Kaien. He remained silent for several moments. Then he looked at the husky. This is your specialty. The husky blinked. My specialty. Kaien nodded. Creating dungeons. We've already done our part. We designed the rules. We balanced the rewards. We tested the mechanics. We gathered the data. He looked toward the collapsing battlefield. The experiment is almost a complete success. So, we won't stop you anymore. The room became quiet. Kaien smiled. Stop treating this place as an experiment. Make it a real dungeon. The husky stared at him. A real dungeon. Kaien nodded. Yes, you've been limiting yourself because of us. You've been using temporary barriers. Temporary space. Temporary rules. But that's no longer necessary. Ren smiled. You're the professional. We're researchers. This part is your work. Akira continued. Use your own standards, not ours. Create the barrier exactly the way you would for your other worlds. Daichi laughed. Stop being stingy. If the bosses are too strong, build a stronger cage. Even Shun nodded. We've already collected enough data. Now, it's time to stop worrying about costs. The husky remained silent. For thousands of years, it had always built dungeons according to its own standards. This time, because it wanted to cooperate with the 5, it had deliberately lowered the specifications. Now, they were telling it to stop holding back. The husky slowly smiled. I understand. It stood up. Its playful expression disappeared. For the first time, the 5 saw the dungeon system acting like the ancient existence it truly was. The husky raised one paw. The entire management room disappeared. Everyone found themselves standing in a vast white space. Countless worlds floated around them like stars. Each world was connected by countless golden threads. The 5 silently looked around. Even Shun's eyes narrowed slightly. This is your authority. The husky nodded. Every dungeon, every barrier, every connected world, they all pass through here. The husky extended its paw toward the ninja world. The golden thread connected to it began glowing. A gigantic magic formation appeared. It continued expanding. 1 kilometer, 10 kilometers, 100 kilometers. It never stopped. The formation eventually covered the entire separated world. The 5 quietly watched. Akira whispered. This isn't sealing, it's reconstruction. The husky nodded. I'm no longer reinforcing the barrier. I'm replacing it. Far away, inside the dungeon, Every player suddenly stopped moving. The shaking disappeared. The cracked sky began repairing itself. Broken mountains returned. Collapsed space healed. The entire dungeon was reconstructing itself in real time. The world chat exploded. Leaf Jonan, the world is repairing itself. Cloud Shinobi, what's happening? Mist Anbu, the cracks disappeared. The husky calmly spoke. This is a proper dungeon. The temporary experimental barrier completely disappeared. In its place, an interdimensional barrier descended, one that had protected countless worlds for millions of years. The warning screens immediately changed. Dungeon stability, 85%, 98%, 100%. Then another message appeared. Barrier classification updated. Experimental barrier standard interdimensional barrier. The husky smiled proudly. Now, they can fight as much as they want. Unless someone stronger than level 100 appears. This dungeon won't break. Daichi stared blankly. You had something this ridiculous. And never used it. The husky scratched its head. I thought, you wanted to keep everything as realistic as possible. Kyan laughed. The experiment is over. Now, welcome to the real dungeon system. The husky looked at the battlefield where Hagoromo, Hamura, the Black Dragon, and the Crimson Giant continued fighting without affecting the outside world. Then it smiled. For the first time since arriving in the ninja world, it wasn't running an experiment anymore. It was doing what it had done for countless ages. Managing a real dungeon. Chapter 106, The Best Team. The battlefield finally became quiet. The Black Dragon lay on the ground. The Crimson Giant slowly dissolved into particles of light. Both Supreme Commanders had been defeated. But, only barely. Hagoromo's breathing had become heavy. Several truth-seeking balls had already disappeared. Hamura's Tensegan chakra mode faded. One sleeve of his robe had been torn away, and countless small wounds covered his body. They had won, but it had been a narrow victory. The entire battlefield erupted in cheers. The world chat exploded. System, congratulations. The two Supreme Commanders have been defeated. Millions of messages poured in. Before anyone could celebrate for long, the sky suddenly darkened. A portal slowly opened above the battlefield. Everyone instinctively looked upward. Silence. Then, the sound of horse hooves echoed through the sky. Clop, clop, clop. A black horse slowly walked out of the portal. Its entire body was covered in dark flames. Its eyes glowed crimson. Behind it, a knight wearing pitch black armor emerged. His face was completely hidden behind a helmet. In one hand, he carried a massive black lance. The horse stopped in midair. The knight slowly looked down upon the battlefield. A blue screen appeared. Elite Commander Dark Knight level 30 mount. Nightmare Horse level 29. No one moved. No one even breathed loudly. The pressure released by the knight alone was greater than the combined pressure of the Black Dragon and the Crimson Giant. Even Hagoromo and Hamura instinctively became serious. For the first time since the battle began, the two brothers tightened their grips on their staffs. Hamura quietly spoke. This one is dangerous. Hagoromo nodded. Very far away. Inside the control room, the five researchers stared at the screen. Akira immediately checked the dungeon configuration. His eyes widened. Impossible. Ren quickly searched through every setting. There's no level 30 monster in our design. Daichi frowned. We never approved this. Kyan looked toward the husky. Where did that thing come from? Shun's expression also became serious. This wasn't part of the experiment. Behind them, the husky simply smiled. Without saying a single word, it quietly raised one paw. A glowing portal silently opened, directly beneath the feet of the five. Wait. Daichi's eyes widened. Before he could finish, the floor disappeared. All five instantly fell through the portal. The next moment, 5 figures suddenly fell from the sky above the monster horde dungeon. Countless players looked up in confusion. What are those? They're falling. Inside the portal, the husky's voice echoed one last time. If you want to teach the users how important teams are, then how can they understand without witnessing the greatest team in the history of the ninja world fight? The portal immediately closed. While falling, Daichi looked upward and shouted. Fuck you, husky. You've started interfering with our dungeon again. His voice echoed across half the battlefield. Ren sighed helplessly. I knew he couldn't behave for long. Akira was already calculating the landing trajectory. Shun simply rubbed his forehead. I should have expected this. Kyan reacted instantly. Enough. Everyone, wear the wooden masks, before anyone sees our faces. The other 4 immediately understood. Without hesitation, each of them pulled a plain wooden mask from their storage seals. Within seconds, all 5 had hidden their identities. Only their different wooden masks remained visible. The players below watched in confusion. Who are they? They're wearing masks. Are they new bosses? Even Hagoromo and Hamura looked toward the 5 mysterious figures descending from the sky. The Dark Knight also slowly turned his head. For the first time, its gaze shifted away from Hagoromo and Hamura toward the 5 masked men. The battlefield fell completely silent. The greatest team of the ancient era faced the greatest team of the new era. And somewhere, far beyond the battlefield, a certain husky rolled on the floor laughing. He. This is going to be fun. Chapter 107, The 5 Descend. 5 streaks of light fell from the sky. Boom, 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 boom. 5 craters appeared around the Dark Knight. Dust slowly rose into the air. The entire battlefield became silent. Everyone stared at the 5 masked figures. No one could sense their chakra. No one recognized them. Even the legendary soul users became cautious. The Dark Knight quietly observed them. Then, for the first time since appearing, it spoke. You are the true masters of this dungeon. Its deep voice echoed throughout the battlefield. The 5 exchanged glances. Akira whispered, so it can sense our authority. Kaien nodded. Expected. The Dark Knight slowly pointed its black lance toward them. I was wondering when the creators would finally appear. Those words stunned everyone. Creators. The world chat exploded. Leaf Jonan, creators. Cloud Shinobi, they created the dungeon. Mist Anbu, they're the ones behind everything. Daichi quietly cursed. Great. We've already been exposed. Shun shook his head. No. Only our identities. Not our faces. Ren laughed. Thank goodness Kaien made us wear masks. The Dark Knight dismounted. Its nightmare horse remained behind it. Even standing still, the horse radiated overwhelming pressure. A new blue panel appeared. Dark Knight level 30. Nightmare horse level 29. Soul Link. Active. Combat efficiency. 180% while mounted. Akira immediately analyzed the information. The horse isn't a pet. It's his partner. Kaien nodded. So, they're already demonstrating teamwork. Shun smiled. The husky planned this from the beginning. Far away, inside the hidden control room, the husky rolled on the floor laughing. He. Exactly. If the strongest enemy fights as a perfect team, then the strongest team of the ninja world should defeat them. Back on the battlefield, the Dark Knight calmly spoke. My companion and I have fought together for over 10,000 years. It gently stroked the nightmare horse's neck. We breathed together. We attacked together. We survived together. Then it pointed its lance toward the 5. So, show me the teamwork that created this dungeon. Silence. The 5 looked at one another. Daichi grinned. Well, I guess we're doing this. Ren stretched his shoulders. It has been a while. Akira closed his laptop. Battle mode. The laptop disappeared into a storage seal. Shun quietly adjusted his wooden mask. I really didn't want to expose ourselves this early. Kaien stepped forward. It can't be helped. The players below watched nervously. They're only 5 people. They're going to fight that monster. Even Hagoromo quietly observed them. Hamura narrowed his eyes. Interesting. I can't sense any chakra from them. Hashirama smiled. They're hiding it. Madara crossed his arms. And they're doing it perfectly. Kaien calmly began giving orders. Akira. Analysis. Akira nodded. Already running. His Sharingan spun once. Streams of information flowed through his mind. Enemy possesses perfect synchronization with the mount. Breaking their coordination is the priority. Ren. Mobility. Understood. Daichi. Frontline. Daichi cracked his knuckles. My favorite job. Shun. Control. Shun simply nodded. All command. The other 4 answered simultaneously. Understood. The younger generation watched in disbelief. No unnecessary words. No arguments. No hesitation. The 5 immediately entered their positions. Hagoromo quietly smiled. Excellent. Hamura nodded. They've already synchronized. The Dark Knight mounted its horse once again. Its black lance slowly lowered. The nightmare horse pawed the air once. Then, both sides moved. Boom. The collision of 6 figures created a shockwave that shook the entire battlefield. The younger generation saw only flashes of light. Even many legendary soul users lost track of the battle. Only Hagoromo smiled. They're not 5 individuals. Hamura finished the sentence. They're one team. And somewhere far away, the husky happily drank tea while watching everything unfold. This is the lesson I wanted everyone to see. The strongest team isn't the one with the strongest members. It's the one that fights as a single person. Chapter 108, 5 Impossible Uchiha. The battle had only just begun. Yet, the entire battlefield had already forgotten about the Dark Knight. Everyone's attention was fixed on the 5 masked Uchiha. They fought. Nothing like any Uchiha in history. Daichi's partial Susanoo punched directly against the Dark Knight's lance. Boom. Instead of using his Susanoo as a giant warrior, he compressed it around his own body like armor. Every punch carried the force of a mountain. Hashirama blinked. Can Susanoo be used like that? Madara narrowed his eyes. I never thought of it. Even Hagoromo quietly observed Daichi. So that's another application of Susanoo. On the other side, Ren's Susanoo wings accelerated him through the air. His sword moved with impossible precision. Every slash was only a few centimeters long. Yet, each cut forced the Dark Knight to defend. But something strange began to appear. Every strike Ren made left behind faint glowing marks on the Dark Knight's armor. Symbols. Sealing symbols. An ancient Uchiha elder stared blankly. They're using Susanoo to increase swordsmanship, not replacing it. Meanwhile, Akira never approached the battlefield. Hundreds of nearly invisible chakra threads spread through the sky. Some connected to his teammates. Some wrapped around floating rocks. Some even attached to the Dark Knight's armor. The puppet masters watching from the battlefield froze. One elder from the puppet brigade whispered. Impossible. Another slowly nodded. We've been using chakra threads to control puppets for generations. He looked at Akira. But he's using the entire battlefield as his puppet. Every movement of the five became smoother. Faster. More synchronized. The puppet masters could hardly believe their eyes. Can chakra threads really be used like that? At the same time, Kaian continuously formed hand seals. Thousands of sealing arrays appeared beneath the Dark Knight. Some strengthened allies, some weakened enemies, some redirected attacks, some stored chakra, some repaired damaged terrain, but more importantly, he was controlling something else. The symbols carved by Ren, and the ones being added by Shun. The ancient Uzumaki souls stared silently. One elder slowly removed his glasses. No. That isn't normal sealing. Another elder nodded. He's controlling sealing arrays. In real-time combat, golden chains suddenly erupted from dozens of seals. The Dark Knight's horse was forced backward. The Uzumaki elders completely froze. Flying sealing arrays, moving barriers, adamantine chains, and remote control over external seals. One old Uzumaki laughed helplessly. So, our clan could have fought like this. Shun appeared behind the Dark Knight. His sword never clashed directly. Instead, every slash carved tiny sealing symbols into the enemy's armor. But unlike Ren's precise cuts, Shun's strikes were faster, sharper, more aggressive. Together, Ren and Shun moved like two halves of the same system. One placed the foundation, the other expanded it. The symbols linked together. 1, 10, 100. Until an entire sealing network covered the Dark Knight. And Kaian controlled all of it. Hamura quietly smiled. They turned swordsmanship into a sealing formation. The Uchiha clan had become completely silent. Every Susanoo user watched in disbelief. One elder finally spoke. Is this even legal? Another answered honestly. I don't know. Madara laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. I've used Susanoo my entire life. Yet these brats are teaching me new ways to use it. Even Hagoromo smiled. I created many techniques. But creativity always belongs to later generations. The world chat exploded. Leaf Jonin, those aren't normal Uchiha. Cloud Shinobi, they fight completely differently. Mist Anbu, every one of them has a different style. Only one group remained unusually quiet. 23 Uchiha stood together. The original phone testers. The first dungeon users. The only people who knew the truth. They recognized every movement, every fighting style, every weapon. One young Uchiha swallowed. It's really them. Another nodded. We've sparred with them. They're exactly the same. A third quickly whispered. Don't say anything. Did you forget the warning? Everyone immediately remembered. If you interfere with our plans, death will be mercy. Every one of the 23 quietly closed their mouths. Not one of them dared reveal the identities of the five. They simply watched silently, pretending they knew nothing. Far away, the husky happily ate popcorn while watching the battle. He. The whole world is questioning whether those five are even normal Uchiha. It laughed even harder. They have no idea. Those lunatics spent their entire childhood experimenting on themselves. Back on the battlefield, the Dark Knight finally smiled beneath its helmet. Excellent. So this is the team that created the dungeon. Its grip on the Black Lance tightened. For the first time today. I feel excitement. The nightmare horse neighed loudly. Dark flames erupted around both rider and mount. The real battle was only beginning. Chapter 109, The Perfect Team. The Dark Knight stood silently. Golden ceiling symbols now covered every piece of his armor. The nightmare horse was surrounded by dozens of floating ceiling arrays. Yet, neither looked worried. Instead, the Dark Knight laughed. Excellent. You understand teamwork. But, you still lack one thing. The next moment, the Dark Knight gently patted the nightmare horse's neck. Partner. Without another word, horse and rider moved. Not together. As one. Boom. The horse charged straight toward Daichi. At the same instant, the Dark Knight disappeared. No one saw where he went. Even Madara lost sight of him. Impossible. Clang. Daichi instinctively raised his Susanoo-covered arm. The black lance had already reached him. The impact threw him several kilometers away. At exactly the same moment, the nightmare horse kicked Ren from behind. The timing was perfect. It was as though both attacks had come from a single body. Akira immediately spoke. Prediction. They're sharing senses. Kaien nodded. Not just senses. They share intention. There is no delay between thought and action. The battlefield became even more terrifying. The Dark Knight never looked at his horse. The horse never looked at its master. Yet, every movement complemented the other perfectly. Whenever Daichi blocked the lance, the horse attacked his blind spot. Whenever Ren tried attacking the horse, the knight intercepted him. Whenever Kaien activated a sealing array, the horse changed direction before the seal activated. The spectators stared blankly. Hashirama smiled bitterly. They don't need communication. Madara nodded. They've fought together for too long. Akira suddenly spoke again. I found the center. Everyone looked toward him. The horse. The synchronization starts from the horse. The knight predicts through the horse's movement. Kaien immediately understood. So, we don't break the knight. We break the rhythm. Formation Delta. The other four answered instantly. Understood. For the first time, the five separated. Daichi remained at the front. Ren disappeared into the sky. Shun vanished completely. Akira moved farther back. Only Kaien stayed in the center. The younger generation became confused. They split up. Didn't they say teamwork was important? Madara quietly smiled. No, they're expanding, not separating. Suddenly, Akira's chakra threads multiplied. 100, 1000, 10,000. The entire battlefield became covered by invisible threads. Every teammate, every floating rock, every ceiling array, every sword, everything became connected. The puppet masters almost fainted. That's a living network. Ren suddenly appeared above the Dark Knight. One slash. Another ceiling mark appeared. Then another. Then another. Shun appeared beneath the horse. His sword carved dozens more. The symbols rapidly spread. Kaien calmly smiled. Complete. He brought his hands together. The thousands of scattered ceiling symbols. Connected. Not physically, but through Akira's chakra network. The entire battlefield transformed into one gigantic ceiling formation. The ancient Uzumaki elders stood frozen. He turned the battlefield itself into a seal. The Dark Knight finally frowned. This is interesting. For the first time, its horse slowed down, only for an instant. But one instant was enough. Daichi smiled. There, his Susanoo fist slammed directly into the horse. Boom. The nightmare horse was forced backward. The synchronization broke, only for half a second. That tiny opening was immediately exploited. Ren's sword struck. Shun's blade followed. Kaien activated every seal. Akira redirected every movement with chakra threads. The five attacked from completely different directions. Yet, their attacks landed at exactly the same instant. Boom. Even Hagoromo's eyes widened slightly. Perfect timing. Hamura nodded. Not one attack arrived early. Not one attack arrived late. The Dark Knight was finally pushed backward. Only 3 steps. But, it was the first time anyone had forced it back. Silence filled the battlefield. Then, the Dark Knight laughed. Louder than before. Ha 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 ha. Excellent. So this is the teamwork of the creators. It slowly raised its black lance. Its crimson eyes glowed beneath the helmet. I've changed my mind. I will no longer treat you as dungeon challengers. Dark flames erupted from both the knight and the nightmare horse. The pressure doubled. I shall face you as equals. Far away, the 23 original Uchiha phone testers silently swallowed. One of them whispered, they're forcing a level 30 elite commander to become serious. Another slowly nodded. They really are. The 5 biggest monsters in the ninja world. And above the battlefield, the husky smiled proudly. Now, the real fight begins. Chapter 110, The Gates of Youth. The Dark Knight slowly twirled his black lance. I must admit, you 5 have surprised me. For mortals, you have reached an impressive level. Daichi clicked his tongue. This guy talks too much. He looked toward the others. Let's use that. Ren smiled. I was getting bored anyway. Shun simply nodded. Agreed. The three stood side by side. Daichi clenched his fists. Ren sheathed his sword. Shun took a deep breath. Their chakra suddenly became violent. Blue veins spread across their bodies. The surrounding air exploded. 1 gate, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Finally. 7th gate. Open. Boom. Blue steam erupted from the three of them like roaring dragons. The battlefield shook violently. Every spectator instinctively stepped backward. The pressure released by the three attackers alone had increased several times. Might Guy, watching from the crowd, froze. The 8 inner gates. Every taijutsu specialist turned pale. They opened the 7th gate. 3 people. At the same time, Hashirama stared in disbelief. They learned the 8 gates. Madara frowned. I've only seen one person capable of using that forbidden technique. Hagoromo narrowed his eyes. Interesting. They're combining it with Susanoo. The 3 attackers smiled. Unlike ordinary users, their bodies weren't breaking apart. The 7th gate's burden was being shared by their compact Susanoo armor. Daichi laughed. We always wanted the 8 gates. Ren nodded. But we weren't going to steal it. Or force someone to teach us. Shun smiled faintly. Fortunately, the shop system had it. The younger generation became speechless. They bought the 8 gates. Meanwhile, neither Akira nor Kaien moved. Instead, both quietly closed their eyes. Natural energy from the surroundings began flowing toward them. The entire battlefield suddenly became calm. Then, nature itself answered them. Perfect Sage Mode. Golden pigmentation appeared around their eyes. Unlike ordinary Sage Mode, their bodies remained perfectly balanced. Not a trace of excess natural energy leaked away. The legendary sages immediately became serious. Fukasaku Sage, watching from Mount Myoboku through the live stream, nearly dropped his pipe. Perfect Sage Mode. So young. Even Hagoromo smiled. They've mastered natural energy perfectly. Hamura nodded. And without transforming, Akira slowly opened his eyes. His chakra threads changed. They were no longer made purely of chakra. Natural energy flowed through every thread. Each one became stronger, sharper, more durable. The puppet master stared blankly. He mixed senjutsu into chakra threads. Kaien formed another seal. The floating sealing arrays immediately transformed. Natural energy continuously flowed into them. Every seal became brighter, larger, far more stable. The ancient Uzumaki elders stood in complete silence. One elder whispered, He is feeding natural energy directly into the sealing arrays. Another slowly nodded. That means, the seals no longer rely only on his chakra. They're drawing power from nature itself. Akira smiled. Threads reinforced. Kaien nodded. Sealing arrays upgraded. The two looked toward their teammates. The battlefield is yours. Daichi cracked his neck. Blue steam roared around him. The 7th gate continuously strengthened his body. He grinned at the Dark Knight. Round 2. Ren slowly drew his sword. The blade was now wrapped in both Susanoo chakra and senjutsu enhanced wind. Shun quietly raised his own sword. Every sealing symbol carved onto the battlefield resonated with Kaien's Sage Mode. The Dark Knight remained silent. For the first time, it did not speak. Instead, it slowly lowered its lance. Then, a smile appeared beneath its helmet. Excellent. So this is your true strength. The nightmare horse stomped once. Dark flames erupted around both master and mount. Daichi laughed loudly. Finally, you've stopped talking like some senior. Now fight. The next instant, 3 7th gate users, 2 perfect sages, and 1 perfectly synchronized team charged toward the level 30 elite commander. The true battle finally began. Chapter 111, The Monsters Behind the Masks. Blue steam erupted around Daichi, Ren, and Shun. The 7th gate remained fully open. Their compact Susanoo armor absorbed part of the burden, allowing them to fight at full strength without immediately destroying their bodies. Meanwhile, golden pigmentation surrounded Akira's and Kaien's eyes. Perfect Sage Mode. Natural energy continuously poured into their bodies. One strengthened the battlefield through sealing arrays. The other wove natural energy directly into thousands of chakra threads. The 5 had reached their peak. The Dark Knight slowly looked at them. Interesting. So this is your complete strength. Daichi grinned. No, we're just getting warmed up. The next instant, he disappeared. Boom. The air exploded. The 7th gate multiplied his speed several times over. Even the Dark Knight was forced to defend. Clang. Its black lance collided with Daichi's Susanoo-covered fist. The shockwave shattered distant mountains. Ren appeared above the Dark Knight. His sword descended. At the same moment, Shun attacked from below. One attacked the armor. the other attacked the joints. The coordination was flawless. Every strike left another sealing symbol. The ancient swordsman watching the battle became speechless. One elder whispered, quote, "Three different sword styles, quote, yet they support each other perfectly." Akira calmly moved his fingers. Thousands of chakra threads shifted. Natural energy flowed through every thread. The battlefield itself became his puppet. The Dark Knight's movements slowed. Not because it was weaker. Because Akira continuously altered the battlefield around it. Floating rocks, broken weapons, fragments of armor, everything became part of his network. The puppet masters no longer knew what to say. One elder laughed bitterly. "We spent our entire lives mastering chakra threads. And today, our understanding was shattered." Kaien raised one hand. Every sealing symbol carved by Ren and Shun suddenly resonated. Natural energy flooded into them. Golden chains erupted from every direction. The Dark Knight swung its lance. The first chain broke. Then another. Then another. Yet every broken chain was immediately replaced. One ancient Uzumaki elder stared blankly. "He isn't maintaining the seals with chakra anymore. The seals are drawing natural energy directly from the world." Another elder slowly nodded. "As long as nature exists, his sealing arrays won't run out of energy." High above, Hagoromo watched quietly. "They've specialized completely." Hamura nodded. "The three attackers push offense to its absolute limit. And the other two support the entire battlefield." Madara crossed his arms. "They fight exactly like a military unit." Hashirama smiled. "No, better. They don't have a leader on the battlefield. They've already predicted each other's actions." The Dark Knight suddenly laughed. "Ha ha ha, so this is the generation after ours." It slammed its lance into the ground. Dark flames exploded across the battlefield. The Nightmare Horse immediately charged toward Akira. The Dark Knight himself attacked Kaien. It had changed targets. It had realized the support pair was the heart of the formation. Daichi immediately shouted, "Protect the supports." Before the words had fully left his mouth, Ren and Shun were already moving. Neither had waited for the command. They had predicted it. Ren intercepted the Nightmare Horse. Shun blocked the Dark Knight's lance. Daichi crashed into both enemies from the side. Boom! The entire battlefield shook. Hashirama smiled. They reacted before the order was finished. Madara nodded. "That's not communication. That's instinct." The world chat exploded. Leaf Jonin, they knew what each other was going to do. Cloud Shinobi, nobody even gave an order. Mist Anbu, how many years have they fought together? Only the 23 original Uchiha quietly smiled. One of them whispered, "They've always been like this. During sparring, you never knew who would attack you. Because they didn't know either. They simply trusted each other completely." Another nodded. "The moment one creates an opening, the other four are already there." Back on the battlefield, the Dark Knight finally stopped smiling. It slowly looked at the five, then spoke in a serious voice. "I understand now. You five are not powerful because you possess eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. It isn't because of the 8 gates. It isn't because of perfect sage mode." The battlefield became silent. The Dark Knight pointed its lance toward them. "You became monsters, because each of you completely trusted the other four with your lives." For the first time, no one refuted its words. Even Hagoromo smiled. Because everyone present knew, the Dark Knight had finally understood the true strength of the 5 masked Uchiha. It was never their techniques. It was never their bloodline. It was the absolute trust that allowed 5 people to fight as though they shared a single heart. Chapter 112, A Power from Another World. The battlefield fell silent once again. The Dark Knight lowered its lance. For the first time, it looked at the 5 with genuine respect. "You 5 have earned my acknowledgement. You are among the finest teams I have ever fought." Silence. Then, Daichi's face darkened. Quote, "Acknowledgement." He slowly cracked his neck. "Who asked for it?" The Dark Knight blinked. Daichi pointed at himself. "The last thing we want in this life is acknowledgement from anyone, especially from an enemy." Before anyone could react, boom, Daichi disappeared. No warning, no signal, no command, just one punch. His fist was no longer covered only by Susanoo. A pitch-black layer coated his entire arm. Black lightning danced wildly around his fist without touching it. The air itself cracked before the punch even landed. The Dark Knight barely raised its lance. Boom! The impact blasted both knight and horse backward several hundred meters. The spectators froze. What was that? At the same moment, Ren and Shun attacked. Their swords had also changed. The blades were coated in the same jet black armor. Black lightning continuously danced around the edges. Every slash distorted space, not because of chakra, but because of something completely different. Behind them, Akira's chakra threads gradually turned black. Even natural energy couldn't explain the transformation. The threads became impossibly tough. Every vibration carried invisible force. Kyan's ceiling arrays changed as well. The golden seals became black. The floating chains became darker than night itself. The entire battlefield felt heavier. The five had stopped talking. There were no more jokes. No more explanations. Only attacks. The Dark Knight's expression finally changed. Another power system. The ninja world was completely dumbfounded. One Jonin whispered, "I've never seen techniques like these." Another elder slowly shook his head. "That's not chakra. It doesn't behave like chakra." Even Hagoromo frowned. Interesting. Hamura nodded. "It isn't senjutsu either." The world chat exploded. Leaf Jonin, what are they using? Cloud Shinobi, that black armor. Mist Anbu, I've never seen anything like it. Sand Shinobi, is it another Kekkei Genkei? Suddenly, one message appeared. It came from a player famous for constantly browsing the shop system. He rarely fought. Instead, he spent most of his time reading item descriptions. Shop researcher. Wait, I think I know. The world chat instantly became quiet. Shop researcher. That is hockey. It's not a power system from our world. It comes from another world connected to the shop system. Messages immediately flooded toward him. Leaf Genin, hockey. Cloud Jonin, what's that? Mist Anbu, explain. The researcher quickly continued. Shop researcher. The black coating should be armament hockey. It greatly strengthens offense and defense. The black lightning should be conqueror's hockey. If they're coating their attacks with it, they're probably using advanced conqueror's hockey. He paused before adding one final sentence. And, considering how they're predicting every movement, they may even possess advanced observation hockey. The entire world chat exploded. Players immediately opened the shop system. They searched one word, hockey. The description appeared before everyone. Power system, hockey. A mysterious power originating from another world. Unlike chakra, hockey is born from one's spirit and will. It can be cultivated by anyone with sufficient determination. Observation hockey, Kanbunshoku hockey, allows the user to sense presence, emotions, killing intent, and incoming attacks. At advanced levels, some users can briefly perceive the future. Armament hockey, Busoshoku hockey, coats the body or weapons in spiritual armor. Greatly increases offensive and defensive power. Advanced users can project hockey beyond the body, striking targets internally without direct contact. Conqueror's hockey, Haoshoku hockey, an extremely rare ability possessed by those born with the qualities of a king. Can overwhelm weaker opponents through sheer willpower. Advanced users can coat attacks with Conqueror's hockey, dramatically increasing destructive power without direct contact. The battlefield became completely silent. One young shinobi whispered, "So, there are entirely different power systems outside our world." Another slowly nodded. The shop wasn't exaggerating. Hashirama smiled bitterly. "We've spent our entire lives mastering chakra." Madara crossed his arms. "And those five have already started mastering the powers of other worlds." Hagoromo quietly looked at the five masked figures. "They aren't limiting themselves to the ninja world's path." Hamura nodded. "They're learning from every civilization they encounter." Far away, the husky smiled proudly. "Exactly. That's the greatest advantage of an interdimensional civilization." Back on the battlefield, the Dark Knight slowly stood up. A crack had finally appeared on its black armor. It looked at the five, then smiled. "So, you truly are creators." And for the first time since the battle began, the level 30 elite commander realized it was no longer fighting five extraordinary Uchiha. It was fighting five researchers who treated the abilities of entire worlds as knowledge to be learned. Chapter 113, Knowledge has no boundaries. The battlefield had become eerily quiet. The crack on the Dark Knight's armor slowly spread. Not because the damage was severe, but because, for the first time in thousands of years, someone had pierced its defense. The Dark Knight lowered its lance. Then it laughed. "Ha ha ha. So, you don't simply become stronger. You collect strength." No one responded. The five had stopped speaking long ago. There were no more words between them. No expressions. No reactions. Only movement. Only calculation. Only execution. They no longer resembled shinobi. They resembled machines built for combat. Daichi moved first. No signal. No warning. His fist struck forward. Boom. Advanced armament hockey exploded outward. The attack never touched the lance. Yet the impact shattered space between them. Crack. Another fracture spread across the Dark Knight's weapon. Ren followed. His sword descended in absolute silence. Black lightning danced across the blade. The strike never made contact. Yet a deep cut tore across the Dark Knight's shoulder. Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Shun appeared behind the knight. His hands moved with mechanical precision. Sealing symbols carved themselves into the armor. No hesitation. No wasted motion. Akira stood still. His observation Haki expanded across the battlefield. Every movement, every breath, every shift in intent, all processed instantly. His lips moved slightly. 3 seconds. The others reacted instantly. No acknowledgement. No confirmation. Just execution. Exactly 3 seconds later, the Dark Knight launched a counterattack. It struck empty space. They had already moved. Kaien stepped forward. Black sealing arrays spread across the battlefield. Each one layered with natural energy. And armament Haki. Chains formed. Dense. Unbreakable. Precise. The spectators felt it. A chill ran through them. They're not even talking anymore. One Jonin swallowed hard. They're not fighting like humans. The world chat slowed. Even the constant chatter faded. Leaf Jonin, this feels wrong. Mist Anbu, they're too precise. Cloud Shinobi, it's like they're not thinking. Hashirama frowned slightly. They've gone quiet. Madara narrowed his eyes. They've removed everything unnecessary. Hagoromo spoke softly. No emotion. No hesitation. Only purpose. Hamura nodded. They've optimized themselves for battle. The Dark Knight stepped back. For the first time, it hesitated. You've changed. No answer. Daichi attacked again. Boom. Ren followed. Shun sealed. Akira predicted. Kaien reinforced. Perfect synchronization. No wasted movement. No wasted thought. The Dark Knight blocked. Countered. Adapted. But it was slower. Not in speed, but in processing. Because it still thought. It still reacted. It still felt. Another strike landed. Crack. The armor split further. Far away, the Husky watched silently. They've crossed the line. From fighters to systems. Back on the battlefield, the Dark Knight raised its lance again. Its crimson eyes burned. You 5 have abandoned yourselves. No response. Only movement. The battlefield erupted once more. But now, it was no longer a clash of philosophies. No longer a clash of ideals. It was something colder. Something sharper. One side fought with experience, instinct, and will. The other fought like a perfectly calculated equation. And in that equation, there was no room for emotion. Only victory. Chapter 114, Beyond Calculation. The battlefield had become completely silent. No one cheered. No one spoke. Everyone simply watched. The 5 masked Uchiha continued attacking. Every movement, every step, every strike, was executed with absolute precision. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. The Dark Knight blocked another punch from Daichi. Boom. The impact pushed him several hundred meters backward. Before he could recover, Ren's sword was already descending. Clang. He barely blocked. Shun immediately appeared behind him. Another sealing mark. Akira's voice echoed calmly. 2.4 seconds. No explanation. No command. Only information. Exactly 2.4 seconds later, Kaien's black sealing chains erupted from the ground. The Dark Knight had already been forced into that position. Everything had been calculated. For several minutes, the battle continued like that. The 5 never made a mistake. Never hesitated. Never wasted movement. The spectators began feeling something strange. They're too perfect. Even Hagoromo frowned. They've reached complete synchronization. Hamura nodded. But something is missing. The Dark Knight suddenly laughed. Ha 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 ha. You 5 are extraordinary. Another attack came. Another perfect combination. Another flawless calculation. The Dark Knight blocked them all. Its armor continued cracking. Its lance became increasingly damaged. Yet, it continued smiling. Finally, the Dark Knight spoke. I understand now. You abandoned hesitation. You abandoned emotion. You abandoned instinct. You turned yourselves into the perfect combat system. Silence. The 5 gave no reply. Another attack came. Exactly as calculated. The Dark Knight suddenly stopped defending. Instead, it lowered its lance. Daichi's punch landed squarely on its chest. Boom. The knight was launched backward. Everyone froze. Why didn't it defend? The Dark Knight slowly stood. Another crack spread across its armor. Then, it smiled. You calculated. The best answer. But, you forgot one thing. For the first time, the Dark Knight abandoned every battle stance. It threw away its shield. It loosened its grip on the lance. The spectators became confused. What is it doing? Hashirama's eyes widened. Madara. Madara immediately understood. It abandoned efficiency. The Dark Knight looked toward the 5. In my world, we call this the irrational choice. The next instant, instead of attacking the strongest point in their formation, It charged directly into Daichi. Not because it was optimal. Not because it was logical. Simply because it wanted to. Boom. The collision shook the battlefield. Daichi was actually forced back. For the first time since entering their silent state, their formation became slightly uneven. Only slightly. But everyone noticed. Akira calmly adjusted the calculations. Formation deviation, 0.03%. Kaien immediately compensated. The formation stabilized again. The Dark Knight laughed. There, I found it. The five stopped attacking, not because they wanted to. Because, for the first time, they had encountered an opponent that intentionally abandoned logic. Hagoromo quietly smiled. Interesting. Hamura nodded. The strongest warriors sometimes choose the wrong move. Because it becomes the right move. Only because nobody expects it. Far away, the husky looked toward Shun. He's thinking. Indeed, for the first time since entering this battle, Shun's eyes changed. The perfectly calm calculations disappeared. Instead, he quietly smiled beneath his wooden mask. Everyone, the other four looked toward him. One sentence. The experiment is over. Daichi grinned. So, we can finally fight normally. Shun nodded once. Yes. Stop calculating every movement. Fight the way we always do. The other four smiled. For the first time since the battle began, their cold expressions disappeared. The atmosphere around them completely changed. The spectators looked confused. What changed? Only Hagoromo smiled. They're back. Madara crossed his arms. HMPH. So that emotionless state was only another experiment. The Dark Knight laughed louder than ever. Excellent. Now, show me the real five. The battlefield trembled once more. The calculations had ended. Now, the true battle between six monsters was finally about to begin. Chapter 115, 5 Lunatics. The atmosphere changed. It was subtle, yet every legendary shinobi felt it immediately. Before, the five had fought like a perfectly optimized machine. Now, they smiled. Hashirama blinked. There, more dangerous. Madara smirked. HMPH. So they were holding themselves back. Even Hagoromo quietly smiled. Their synchronization didn't disappear. It became natural. Hamura nodded. They've stopped calculating. They're simply trusting each other. The Dark Knight slowly raised its lance. I've been waiting for this. Daichi laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. Finally. Now this feels like a real fight. The Dark Knight tilted its head. You seem happy. Daichi cracked his neck. Of course. You finally shut up. Boom. Without warning, Daichi opened the seventh gate to its absolute limit. Instead of charging the Dark Knight, he punched the ground. The entire battlefield exploded. Huge boulders shot into the sky. Everyone stared in confusion. What is he doing? Ren immediately smiled. I got it. He kicked one of the flying mountains. The gigantic rock flew toward the nightmare horse like a meteor. At the same moment, Akira's chakra threads wrapped around dozens of other boulders. Thousands of tons of stone suddenly changed direction in midair. The puppet masters nearly fainted. He's controlling mountains. The Dark Knight shattered the first boulder. The second. The third. Then, Shun suddenly appeared inside the cloud of debris. The flying rocks had become his cover. His sword carved another sealing mark. Kaien immediately activated it. The Dark Knight was forced backward. Hashirama burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. So that's how they fight normally. Madara couldn't help smiling. They're completely unpredictable. Daichi shouted. Again. Another punch. Another mountain exploded. Ren laughed. Keep throwing them. Akira redirected every fragment with chakra threads. Kaien transformed the flying rocks into hundreds of floating ceiling arrays. The battlefield became complete chaos. The younger generation stared blankly. This isn't a strategy. One Jonin slowly corrected him. No, it is. It just looks insane. The Dark Knight blocked another attack. Then laughed loudly. Ha 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 ha. So, this is your true style. Daichi pointed at him. Exactly. We're researchers. We're not soldiers. We don't fight according to manuals. Ren appeared beside him. If something works, we use it. Shun smiled. If it doesn't, we change it. Akira calmly added. If changing it doesn't work, we invent something new. Kaien finished the sentence. And if nobody has invented it yet, we create it ourselves. The world chat exploded. Leaf Jonin, they're making techniques in the middle of a battle. Cloud Shinobi, is that even possible? Mist Anbu, they don't follow styles. Sand Shinobi, they're making up everything as they go. Far away, the husky covered its face with both paws. These five, really are lunatics. It remembered countless meetings. One person suggested an absurd idea. Instead of rejecting it, the other four would spend hours refining it. No limits, no common sense. Only one question. Can it be done? If the answer was yes, they would do it. Back on the battlefield, the Dark Knight was laughing harder than ever. I finally understand. You five aren't united because you're disciplined. Another mountain flew toward him. Boom. He shattered it with one strike. Daichi grinned. You're catching on. The Dark Knight continued. You trust each other. Because every one of you is equally insane. Silence. Then, the five looked at each other. For the first time during the battle, all five burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha. Daichi pointed at the Dark Knight. You know what? You're the first enemy. Who actually understands us? The Dark Knight lowered its lance. Then laughed once more. I've fought heroes. I've fought kings. I've fought conquerors. But never have I fought five researchers. Whose greatest weapon is collective madness. The battlefield erupted once again. Not as a battle between order and chaos, but as a battle between one ancient warrior and five geniuses, who had long ago abandoned the idea that the impossible existed. Chapter 116, Kaien's Domain. The laughter disappeared, the smiles vanished, the five entered battle once more. Not through calculations, not through emotion, but through absolute trust. Kaien slowly raised his right hand. Thousands of sealing symbols appeared around his arm. 1 layer, 10 layers, 100 layers. The seals continued stacking upon one another. Even the ancient Uzumaki souls had never seen such a complicated sealing formula. One elder's voice trembled. What kind of sealing array requires that many layers? Another elder stared blankly. That's not a sealing array anymore. It's a language. Kaien calmly pressed his palm against the ground. Boom. The entire battlefield lit up. An unimaginably complex sealing formation spread across the earth. 1 kilometer. 10 kilometers, 50 kilometers, until the entire battlefield was covered. The symbols connected with one another. Every seal resonated. Every teleportation mark awakened. Every barrier became one. The battlefield itself disappeared beneath the formation. The Dark Knight looked down. A domain. Kaien gave no reply. At that exact moment, Akira moved. His black chakra threads instantly wrapped around the Dark Knight's body. Not dozens, not hundreds, tens of thousands. Every joint, every piece of armor, every movement, locked. Akira clenched his fist. The threads tightened. Then, he pulled. The Dark Knight was dragged violently across the battlefield. Not toward Kaien, toward Daichi. Daichi smiled. He didn't move. He simply waited. The Dark Knight arrived in front of him. Too fast to react, too sudden to defend. Daichi's black hockey-covered fist exploded forward. Boom. Advanced armament. Advanced conquerors. The seventh gate. Compact Susanoo. All four powers merged into one punch. The Dark Knight's armor dented inward. Before the pain could even reach its mind, the scenery changed. It vanished. No, it had been teleported. Kaien's domain had activated. The Dark Knight instantly appeared before Ren. Ren's sword had already completed its swing. He had not reacted. He had predicted. A black slash crossed the battlefield. At the same instant, Shun's blade arrived from another angle. Two hockey-coated sword slashes struck together. Slash. The Dark Knight's armor split open. Before the impact finished, space distorted again. Teleportation. The knight suddenly found itself thousands of meters above the battlefield. For less than a heartbeat, it floated in midair. Then, Akira's chakra threads wrapped around it once more. He pulled downward, violently, like dragging a meteor from the heavens. Below, Daichi was already waiting. Another punch. Boom. The impact launched the Dark Knight sideways. Before it completed its flight, Kaien teleported it again. Ren, Shun, two more black sword slashes. Slash, teleport, punch, teleport, slash, teleport, punch, slash, again. The spectators could no longer follow. 1 second, the Dark Knight was in the sky. The next, underground. Then, in front of Daichi. Then, behind Ren. Then, beside Shun. Every location on the battlefield had become connected. Hashirama's eyes widened. Flying Thunder God. Tobarama immediately shook his head. No, it's much worse. Madara narrowed his eyes. He isn't teleporting himself. He's teleporting the battlefield. Even Hagoromo became silent. After several exchanges, he finally smiled. So that's your true specialty. Hamura nodded. The battlefield itself has become Kaien's weapon. The ancient Uzumaki elders stared in disbelief. One whispered, that isn't simply teleportation. He converted every sealing array into a space-time coordinate. Another slowly nodded. As long as the enemy stands within that formation. Kaien can send them anywhere. The puppet masters looked toward Akira. Their expressions became even more horrified. Akira wasn't attacking, he wasn't defending, he was simply delivering the target. Every pull from his threads synchronized perfectly with Kaion's teleportation. The moment the Dark Knight escaped one attack, Akira dragged it toward another. If Akira couldn't pull, Kaion teleported. If Kaion teleported, Akira corrected the enemy's position. Neither spoke, neither hesitated. The three attackers only had one responsibility. Attack, nothing else. They didn't chase, they didn't reposition, they didn't think about movement. Akira and Kaion delivered the enemy directly to them, or teleported them directly before the enemy. The Dark Knight was struck again. Punch, slash, punch, slash. Its body was thrown around the battlefield like a ball. For the first time since appearing, it couldn't counterattack, not because it was weaker, but because it never knew where it would appear next. The entire ninja world watched in complete silence. One Jonin finally whispered, quote, "This isn't teamwork." Hashirama slowly smiled. "No, this is one person, split into 5 bodies." Chapter 117, An Unescapable Battlefield. The Dark Knight was sent flying once again. Before its body could stabilize, space twisted. It disappeared. The next instant, it appeared directly in front of Daichi. There wasn't even enough time to blink. Boom! Daichi's fist, coated in advanced armament haki and crackling with advanced conqueror's haki, smashed into the Dark Knight's chest. The impact folded the black armor inward. The air exploded. The Dark Knight was launched backward. But, before the force of the punch could completely propel it away, space distorted again. Ren and Shun were already waiting. Neither of them looked surprised. Neither reacted. Their swords had already completed their swings before the teleportation happened. 2 black slashes crossed each other. Slash. The Dark Knight appeared directly inside the intersection of the attacks. Its armor split open once more. Dark blood scattered across the sky. The pain hadn't even reached its brain. Space twisted again. It disappeared. This time, it found itself thousands of meters above the battlefield. For less than a heartbeat, everything became quiet. Then, Akira's chakra threads wrapped around its body once more. Thousands of black threads tightened simultaneously. The vibrations returned. The armor screamed as it was ground apart. Akira pulled downward with all his strength. The Dark Knight fell like a meteor. Below, Daichi was already waiting. He didn't even look upward. He simply trusted. The instant the Dark Knight entered range. Another punch. Boom. The sky cracked. The knight was blasted sideways. Teleport. Ren. Shun. 2 sword slashes. Slash. Teleport. Ground. Daichi. Boom. Teleport. Sky. Threads. Pull. Teleport. Another punch. Another pair of slashes. Again. 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 The attacks never stopped. The spectators completely lost sight of the battle. All they saw were black flashes appearing across the battlefield. Every flash was another impact. Hashirama slowly lowered his hands. Quote, "This is impossible." Tobarama stared at Kaion's ceiling formation. "No, it isn't impossible." He transformed the entire battlefield into a flying thunder god formation. Madara immediately corrected him. "It's beyond flying thunder god. My brother could only teleport himself. He is teleporting anyone." Even Hagoromo remained silent. After watching several more exchanges, he finally smiled. "A domain." Hamura nodded. "Within that ceiling formation, Kaion decides where everyone stands." The ancient Uzumaki elders stood frozen. One whispered. He merged space-time ceiling, barrier ceiling, coordinate ceiling, and teleportation ceiling into one technique. Another elder slowly laughed. "That isn't a ceiling array anymore. That's an entire world." The puppet masters looked toward Akira. Their expressions were equally shocked. Akira never attacked directly. He simply controlled position. Whenever Kaion teleported the Dark Knight, Akira's threads instantly corrected its posture. Whenever Akira's pull slightly deviated, Kaion immediately teleported it back into the perfect trajectory. The two supports had become one system. Meanwhile, Daichi, Ren, and Shun never chased the enemy. They simply stood ready. Every time the Dark Knight appeared, their attacks had already begun. They trusted that Kaion would deliver the target. They trusted that Akira would control the distance. The younger generation stared blankly. One Jonin whispered, quote, "They're not reacting, they're preparing." Another nodded. "The enemy is being delivered directly into their attacks." For the first time, the Dark Knight was unable to launch a counterattack. Not because it lacked strength, not because it lacked speed, but because it had completely lost control of its own position. It no longer decided where to stand. Kaion did. The Dark Knight blocked another punch. Another slash. Another punch. Another slash. Finally, it burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha. So this is your battlefield. Another teleport, another punch. The knight was sent crashing through 3 mountains. It stood again. Its armor was filled with cracks. Its lance had lost its black shine. Yet, it continued laughing. I finally understand. It isn't the 5 attackers who are dangerous. Its crimson eyes looked toward the 2 standing quietly at the back. The true monsters are the 2 supports. Kyan remained expressionless. Akira simply tightened his chakra threads once more. The next teleportation activated. The assault resumed. Without pause. Without mercy. Within Kyan's domain, escape simply did not exist. Chapter 118, Breaking the Domain. The Dark Knight stood motionless. Cracks covered its black armor. Its lance was chipped. Dark blood dripped onto the ceiling formation beneath its feet. Yet, it laughed, not because it was losing, but because it had finally understood. So, this is your battlefield. It truly is magnificent. Another teleportation activated. The Dark Knight disappeared. The next instant, it appeared before Daichi. Daichi's hockey-covered fist had already been thrown. Boom! The punch landed squarely on the Dark Knight's chest. But, this time, something was different. Instead of being launched away, the Dark Knight planted its feet. The earth beneath it shattered. It endured the punch head-on. Daichi's eyes widened. It stopped. The Dark Knight smiled beneath its helmet. I've adapted. Its free hand suddenly grabbed Daichi's wrist. Daichi tried to pull away. It didn't move. For the first time, someone had physically interrupted their attack rhythm. Now, the Dark Knight whispered. Dark energy exploded from its body. Boom! Daichi was thrown backward. Before Kyan could teleport the knight again, the Dark Knight slammed its lance into the ground. A black shockwave erupted. The surrounding ceiling symbols flickered violently. Kyan frowned. It's attacking the formation. Another shockwave. Another. The teleportation seals within several hundred meters became unstable. Akira reacted instantly. Thousands of chakra threads shot toward the damaged area. Natural energy flowed through them. The broken seals began repairing themselves. The Dark Knight laughed. So, that's your weakness. It isn't the attackers. It isn't the supports. It's the battlefield itself. The nightmare horse suddenly neighed. Dark flames spread across the ground. Wherever the flames touched, Kyan's ceiling symbols began fading. Not destroyed. Suppressed. The teleportation network developed small blind spots. Ren appeared beside the horse. His hockey-coated blade descended. The nightmare horse twisted its body at the last instant. The sword only grazed its shoulder. Instead of retreating, the horse charged directly at Ren. Its speed had increased dramatically. Shun intercepted it. Clang! Horse and swordsman collided. For the first time, Shun was forced backward. Above them, the Dark Knight finally began fighting seriously. It no longer waited for teleportation. The instant space distorted. It attacked. Its black lance pierced directly into the distortion itself. Crack! The teleportation portal shattered before completing. Kyan's pupils contracted. It cut the teleportation path. Hagoromo smiled. So that's how. Hamura nodded. It isn't predicting the teleportation. It's attacking space itself. Another teleportation activated. Again, the Dark Knight swung its lance. The space cracked. The teleportation failed. For the first time, Kyan's domain had been interrupted. The ancient Uzumaki elders stared in disbelief. He learned how the domain works. Another elder slowly nodded. And now, he's dismantling it. The Dark Knight spun its lance. No technique is perfect. It only needs to be understood. It looked toward the 5. You researchers should understand that better than anyone. Daichi grinned despite being thrown back. Ha ha ha, now that's more like it. Ren wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. So, he finally stopped being a training dummy. Shun adjusted his grip on his sword. This is the real battle. Akira calmly observed every movement. His Sharingan spun rapidly. No, he's still adapting. Every failed teleport gives him more information. Kyan nodded. Then, we simply evolve faster. The 2 smiled. The Dark Knight smiled back. For the first time since the battle began, neither side held a complete advantage. The domain that had seemed impossible to escape had finally met an opponent capable of breaking it. And the battle entered its most dangerous stage yet. Chapter 119, 5 Impossible Techniques. The battlefield had reached another level. The Dark Knight had adapted. Kyan's domain was no longer absolute. The teleportation network could now be disrupted. The nightmare horse had learned to suppress sections of the ceiling formation. For the first time, the 5 had lost their overwhelming advantage. The Dark Knight smiled. Excellent. Now, fight me with your own strength. Daichi grinned. Who told you? That was our strongest setup. The Dark Knight frowned. What? The five looked at one another. No words, no signals, only smiles. The spectators suddenly had a bad feeling. Hashirama sighed. They're about to invent something. The husky covered its face. Oh no. Daichi was the first to move. He didn't throw a punch. Instead, he punched the air. Boom. The black lightning surrounding his fist exploded outward. The air compressed into a visible shockwave. The punch never reached the Dark Knight. The shockwave did. It struck like an invisible mountain. The Dark Knight blocked instinctively. Boom. Even while defending, it was pushed backward. Madara narrowed his eyes. He projected the impact, without touching the target. At the same time, Ren sheathed his sword. Everyone became confused. Then, he drew it. A single black slash crossed the battlefield. The slash didn't disappear. It remained suspended in the air. 1, 2, 5, 10. Every time Ren drew his sword, another floating slash remained in place. The battlefield gradually filled with unmoving black blades of compressed haki and sword intent. The ancient swordsman stood frozen. Stored slashes. Shun calmly walked forward. He didn't attack. Instead, he tapped each floating slash with 2 fingers. Golden sealing symbols spread across every blade. Then, the slashes vanished, not because they disappeared, because they had been sealed, hidden, waiting. The enemy could no longer see them. The Dark Knight instinctively activated every sense. Where did they go? No answer came. Meanwhile, Akira smiled faintly. His chakra threads split apart. Not into thousands, into millions. Each thread became thinner than a strand of hair. Every thread vibrated at terrifying speed. Every particle of dust, every pebble, every fragment of broken armor became connected. The spectators couldn't even see the threads anymore. Only Hagoromo, Hamura, and Madara could. Hamura whispered, "The battlefield has become his web." Kaien quietly knelt. Instead of repairing the damaged seals, he began writing new ones. Not on the ground, on empty space itself. Floating sealing symbols appeared in the air, one after another, until the entire battlefield looked like a 3-dimensional maze of glowing formulas. The Uzumaki elders forgot how to breathe. He's writing seals on space itself. The Dark Knight finally attacked. It dashed toward Daichi. The instant it took its third step, slash, a black sword slash suddenly appeared from nowhere. It struck the Dark Knight's shoulder. The knight immediately turned. No one was there. Another step, slash, a second invisible slash erupted. Then another. Then another. Every slash had been prepared minutes earlier. The battlefield itself had become Ren and Shun's trap. The Dark Knight laughed. Ha ha ha. So, you've turned the battlefield into a weapon. Daichi smiled. No, you still don't understand. He pointed around him. The battlefield is our laboratory. At that moment, Kaien closed both hands. Every floating seal activated. Every hidden slash awakened. Every chakra thread tightened simultaneously. Millions of microscopic movements occurred at once. The Dark Knight suddenly realized. It wasn't standing on a battlefield anymore. It had entered the experiment. Hashirama watched in stunned silence. I don't even know what half of those techniques are. Madara smiled. Neither do they. Hashirama looked confused. What? Madara laughed. Those lunatics are probably testing them for the first time. Far away, the husky sighed deeply. Exactly. They always do this. They never wait until a technique is perfected. They test it during real combat. The Dark Knight slowly looked around. Invisible slashes, microscopic vibrating threads, floating spatial seals, shockwaves that ignored distance. Everything surrounding it was completely unfamiliar. For the first time since entering the battlefield, the ancient commander whispered, 5 insane researchers. Then it smiled. I wouldn't have it any other way. The battle resumed, not between warriors, but between one ancient legend and 5 men who treated every impossible idea as their next research project. Chapter 120, Evolution. The battlefield had become unrecognizable. Floating ceiling formulas filled the sky. Invisible haki-coated slashes waited throughout the battlefield. Millions of microscopic vibrating chakra threads connected everything. Everywhere was a trap. The Dark Knight stood at the center. Its crimson eyes slowly swept across the battlefield. Then, it smiled. So, this is your research. It truly deserves respect. Daichi snorted. We're not looking for respect. We're looking for results. Without another word, the 5 attacked simultaneously. Ren drew his sword. Immediately, dozens of hidden slashes awakened. The empty sky suddenly exploded. Slash, slash, slash. Black sword intent erupted from every direction. The Dark Knight blocked the first, dodged the second, destroyed the third. But a fourth slash emerged from behind, a fifth from below, a sixth from above. The battlefield itself had become Ren's sword. At the same time, Akira closed his hand. Millions of invisible threads tightened. Instead of binding the Dark Knight, they pulled the floating rocks. Broken weapons, dust, even the hidden sword slashes. Everything accelerated simultaneously. The battlefield itself attacked. Kyan calmly pointed forward. Every floating ceiling array activated. Some increased gravity, some reversed gravity, some distorted space, some accelerated Ren's hidden slashes. Others amplified Daichi's punches. The battlefield had become one enormous support technique. The spectators had completely stopped trying to understand. One Jonin laughed helplessly. I give up. I don't even know what they're doing anymore. Another nodded. I'm just watching. The Dark Knight suddenly closed its eyes. Silence. No movement. No defense. Everyone became confused. What is it doing? Then, its eyes opened. Its crimson pupils had changed. Every hidden slash, every invisible thread, every floating seal, it had memorized all of them. The knight smiled. I've learned enough. The next moment, it moved. Not toward Daichi. Not toward Ren. It stepped into the only gap that existed between millions of attacks. One step, then another, another. The five immediately noticed. Akira's eyes widened. Impossible. Ren frowned. He's reading the battlefield. The Dark Knight wasn't destroying the traps. It was walking through them. Perfectly. As though it had solved a gigantic puzzle. Hashirama stood up. He memorized everything. Madara smiled. No. He understood the pattern. Hagoromo nodded. He's learning. Exactly as fast as they are. The husky sighed. I forgot. Level 30 elite commanders are adaptive monsters. They don't simply fight. They evolve. The Dark Knight suddenly disappeared. For the first time, it ignored every attacker. Instead, it appeared directly before Akira. The support, the brain behind the battlefield. Its black lance thrust forward. Boom. Akira crossed thousands of vibrating threads before him. The lance pierced through half of them. The remaining threads barely redirected the attack. Akira was sent flying. Daichi's expression changed. Akira. Before he could move, the Dark Knight had already vanished again. It appeared before Kyan. The black lance descended. Kyan formed 300 hand seals in an instant. Layer after layer of barriers appeared. The lance pierced through the first. Then the second. Then the third. Only the fourth finally stopped it. Kyan slid backward several hundred meters. The spectators finally understood. The Dark Knight had changed its strategy. It no longer intended to defeat the attackers. It intended to destroy the support system. Daichi smiled. Finally, Ren nodded. So he figured it out. Shun calmly drew his sword. Then, we'll evolve too. The five looked at one another. No panic. No surprise. Only excitement. The Dark Knight laughed. Ha 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 ha. Excellent. Researchers should never stop evolving. Daichi grinned. That's the first thing we ever learned. The seventh gate erupted once more. Ren's haki intensified. Akira stood back up, smiling despite the blood at the corner of his mouth. Kyan's ceiling arrays expanded again. Shun disappeared into the battlefield. Neither side had reached its limit. Both sides were still learning, and the greatest battle in the history of the ninja world continued.